Is being conducted in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by advertisement, the Cape May Star and Wave, the Herald on the Township website, and posted on the bulletin board at Township Hall.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance in a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Conrad.
Here.
Councilmember Neville.
Here.
Councilmember Simonson.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Clark.
Here.
Mayor Beck.
Here. The Bayshore Ecosystem Update has been put off to a meeting in the immediate future. And I'm going to ask the manager, we have Leon Costello here, to clarify a couple issues. And I wish you would take point on this and bring him to the table first.
Councilman, I've asked Leon.
He has to go. He has to leave.
He has to leave, yes. I asked our auditor, Leon Costello, if he'd be here tonight just to clarify what our financial situation is as far as our bonding capacity. There's been some confusion and missed messages put out. So I want all of council and myself to fully understand, and the people in the audience and the people that watch our video to take a look at this. Currently, it was under the impression by Mike, misled, that if we did build a new police department, that the $3.8 million would be all we could bond. Can you tell us the current status for our bonding capacity and if this is a good time to bond any projects?
Well, first of all, right now the market is as good as you can get it. Rates are extremely low. We'll have a sale tomorrow in Cape May, and recent sales have produced very, very, very favorable financing. Just last week, Ocean City had a note sale for 0.25%. It was 0.25 for a one-year note. So the market's very good. It's a tremendous time to be borrowing money right now. The township has maintained a debt plan for the last, I guess, close to 20 years. And this plan allows you to have future capital projects because you always are going to have capital projects. You have blinders on if you think you're never going to do anything again. We'll just let the debt all go away. Right now, there's the 2011 refunding issue has one payment left on it for $680,000. The 2004 issue has two payments left, $500,000 each. And the 2009 issue has four payments left that are $1 million, $1 million, $1.2 million, and $1.2 million. Essentially, in 2018, without doing anything else, you're debt-free. You're currently paying a little over $2 million a year in principal and a couple $100,000 in interest on your debt service. Very, very conservatively, I plotted out a bond sale in 15, a bond sale in 16, and a bond sale in 18, because this is what we normally would be doing, is taking several ordinances that you do, rolling them into one bond sale, because bond sales are relatively expensive to do. So we have bond anticipation notes in the in-between time. And then after every 3 or 4 years, typically we have a bond sale. We're due for one. We're due for one next year. Next year you can sell $11 million worth of bonds, new bonds, and not change what you're paying in debt service currently in the budget. In 16, you can sell another $4 million and not change a thing. And in 2018, another $14 million and not change a thing. You'd be paying exactly the same amount of debt service in your budget for the foreseeable future. You won't be doing $29 million worth of bonds in the next 4 years. That's just not in Lower Township's makeup. That's not your typical activity down here. So to say if it was $3.5 million, $4.5 million, $5 million, it wouldn't make any difference because we could fit all of it into this plan very, very easily. You currently have bond anticipation notes of 4,000,001, and you have debt that's been authorized. You had the 2013 ordinance, and an ordinance from 12 that Lauren hasn't borrowed money yet on all of it. So there's $3 million. So 3 and 4, 7 of this $11 million that is going to be used and will be bonded in 2015 for sure, because that's the way that it needs to be done here, and it keeps the amount of debt service the same. It's our job to figure out how to make payments on this to keep the taxpayers without any serious impact. Again, I've been doing this for 20 years here, and you've been very successful. Even with, we'll say this is abnormal expense to have a $4 million project. You know, that probably wasn't in the plans 5 years ago. But you have the capability and the planning that you can absorb that with no problem whatsoever. There will not be a tax increase because of that.
Leon,
That's for sure.
if we, say, spent $4 million to build a new police department here.
Yes.
And say if we spent another $1 million in some storm drain issues, improvements like Roseanne Avenue and other areas that I would like to address with council, will that create a tax increase for the taxpayers?
No, definitely not.
Would you recommend bonding at this time? Is this the best possible time for this council to make a decision?
It's the decision that you're making now is to whether to have an ordinance to get the project started. We will do the actual bonding in 15, sometime in the calendar year 15, because that's when one of the issues falls off. And we'll be replacing that debt with new debt, and you'll come out even. You can do $11 million next year.
And it will not affect the tax rate?
At all.
Or our payment for each
At all.
year?
Correct.
Thank you. Council?
Tom, does that satisfy the question?
That's
Well,
new numbers.
are
You
you,
can't ask satisfy because I'm getting information right now, and you were asking for, Leon gave me the.
You
now
have
I got
these from
where he
before.
got these numbers from. Before I got a piece of paper with some numbers written, didn't say Leon, didn't say Lauren, didn't say anything. Leon's explained it first.
do you understand it, though?
Oh,
Yeah.
yes,
Do you have
I
any other
understand that.
questions or anything? Because this is why we're here, to talk about this.
I have a question. So if we bond for $4 million, $5 million, $6 million, we still have to pay it back, right?
Oh, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
You
I just wanted
positively
to
don't.
clarify.
And one of the things that sometimes people don't understand about bonds, and, in your house, a great idea is to pay cash if you can. And people say that to me, they don't understand why we don't just pay cash for everything and not bond anything. And what's your answer to that, Leon? Well, I won't put you out there, I'll give you the answer. If you pay for a road in front of your house, it has a life expectancy of so many years. If you paid the full amount the first year in taxes and then you sold your house, the people that have your house for the next 10 years or so get that street for free. In other words, when you bond to buy a school or to build a school, it's so that the people who right now are 12, 13 years old and 20 years have kids, they pay their fair share too. Think about that, because that's one of the key reasons that we do bond. It would be smart to pay cash for everything, but when you're paying 0.25% interest, you basically are paying cash in a lot of ways. The point is, it's not a question of borrowing money. It's a question of spending it properly and smartly. And that's what we're trying to put across here. You don't waste, and you spend it one time. Nothing aggravates me, or a lot of us, than having to do the same thing more than one time. You don't get your money's worth. Does that make sense to you, Leon?
Sure.
Okay. I think a lot of people forget that. Is there any other questions from council in relationship to this? You all right?
I'm good. I thank you, Leon, for coming out. I know you've had some recent surgery, and we appreciate you coming
Yes.
here to clarify these questions of council. Thank you.
Thank you.
He used it to brace just to get out early. He got it at the door and put it on.
I wish.
Yeah, you wish, right? See you on the golf course,
Yeah.
except I don't golf. Thanks, Leon. Take care. Okay, we're gonna, hold on, I got papers all over here. Okay. we're moving to a discussion on a resolution authorizing submission of question to non-binding referendum concerning the public safety building. The resolution's on the regular agenda, but to save and to keep the continuity, I'm going to move the,
Well, actually, because I didn't ask for this to be on the work session, so I think
Well, I'll move the
instead of
resolution.
discussing it twice, we'll just,
that's what I'm saying, that way we can, instead of
we can just do the
having a
regular
break.
agenda.
Well, do you want to move the discussion down to the, to just above the regular agenda? Is that what you would like to do?
I mean, we're going to have comments on the regular agenda, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So we'll postpone the discussion at
I
the
didn't
work
ask for a
session and
discussion.
go into the consent agenda then.
Yeah, I didn't ask for a discussion or a work session.
Okay, well, it's the same thing. We'll just we'll postpone the discussion on the non-binding referendum and have that discussion at
That's fine.
at the resolution on the regular agenda. So we move now to the consent agenda. Are there council comments and questions on the consent agenda?
Yes, I'd like to move Resolution 2014-179 to the regular agenda.
Yeah, I'm okay with that because we actually made a mistake with it says just Beach Drive pedestrian access, and we wanted to say Beach/Shore Drive pedestrian access so that everybody understands completely 100%
Okay.
that the whole project, 1.5 miles, is not going to happen.
Okay, is there any other council comments or questions on the consent agenda? All right, open it up for public comment on the consent agenda. Close the public portion.
Approval of minutes, June 2nd, 2014. Resolution number 2014-170 through 2014-178, and resolution number 2014-180 through 2014-182.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve in a second?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Councilmember Conrad?
Yes.
Councilmember Neville?
Yes.
Councilmember Simonson?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Clark?
Yes.
Mayor Beck?
Yes.
Resolution number 2014-179, a resolution rescinding resolution number 2014-109 and directing the township not to apply to the Cape May County Open Space Program for a Beach Drive/Shore Drive pedestrian access improvement project.
Okay, council comments? Jimmy, do you wanted to insert that? I mean, did you get that done with, is
Yeah, that-
everybody okay with that, changing the name to Beach and Shore? Okay, so that's done. You all right with that, Counselor?
Sure, it's non-substantive, it's just.
Yeah, it's just a clarification of the project's name.
Right, this is so
Okay.
that people just understand that it's
Right.
inclusive.
We're not taking half
Yes,
the project.
because when you make the S-curve, it changes from beach to shore. Some people just wanted to make sure that it's the whole thing, and it's not going to come back later and have a sidewalk put in half of it.
Okay. Go ahead.
Real quick. A few years ago, we were bragging about our beach access plan, the public access plan. We were talking about, we were the first ones in the state to do this, not only have the plan, but have things added, fishing pier, different things. This is pretty much the end of it. Our access plan is dead. Fishing pier's not happening, according to the paper. This access, I just cannot vote for it to die. So that's the only reason I asked to pull. I'm not voting against it. I'm not voting for it. I just cannot vote for it.
Huh?
Okay. Remember when you were bragging about the public access plan, how we had all
Sure.
this? Now we're killing it. And I am not.
No,
gonna be
we're
one to
killing,
vote for it.
I think the public access plan has a lot of components that are involved, but that's not the issue tonight. The issue is this specific project.
Which was part of our
Right,
public.
the
It is
I'm just
part
not
of it.
putting the nail in the coffin. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, now, if,
Okay,
I just, look, I went to a meeting where there were 250, 300 people here, and we advertised that, and we said to the people, we want your input. We want to hear what the public has to say. Now, I came to that meeting, and I stood here and got beat up pretty good. Now, the point I'm trying to say is that not one person, and everybody who was for it, against it, whatever, had the opportunity to come here. But there wasn't a single person that was here for it. And we're pulling it. The question, I would have a couple things. One is that if we were to turn around now and just say, well, we're going to do it anyway, why would we have held a public comment meeting?
You're totally missing my point. I understand.
I'm not sure what your point is.
My point is I'm not voting for it or against it. I'm not putting a nail in the coffin of our public access plan. We were bragging about this a few years ago.
I just got that part.
It's going to pass. And I understand the neighbors coming. I respect the fact that the neighbors did come out.
Abstain counts for it.
But
Abstain counts for it. Is that true? I'm not
But
sure.
only a majority of council is needed to carry
Yeah.
this resolution.
Well, let's go back. Go ahead. Keep explaining here. I'm not sure what you're doing, but the question is, I personally was one of the ones that voted for that project, and I came here to explain to people why that I felt that way. If I felt that I was not going to be malleable, if I was not going to have the ability of people to convince me to go the other way, I would have stood at the microphone and said, listen, here's my reasons I believe in this project, and I'm not moving. For instance, if I felt the same way about the public access proposal, I would have stood there and said that we did this proposal, and I would have faced the 250 people and told them that. All I'm saying is that I don't think that for me, that I can stand here with the entire room against it. Now, you may, and you know, it's not like we pulled this, it's not like it was a council meeting and 250 people showed up unannounced. This was advertised for a solid month. So people were aware of it, including the people who supported it. And I was one of the ones who supported it initially. But we worked for them, and both sides had the opportunity to show, and one side did. You may have a lot of reasons not to feel that that was an honest response, but it was there. It was, the place was packed.
You're taking it totally wrong. I'm not voting against it. I'm not voting for it. The people came and spoke. I respect that. It's just me.
Well, not enough to support their initiative to come out.
I don't want to see the whole project die, and that's pretty much what was said in the paper.
Well, the project's going to be shelved. In 10 years' time, somebody could come back with it. The same with the Fish and Pier, same with any project. We cannot ironclad anything short of, I don't know what you could possibly do that would ironclad any decision that's made on
No one's
council.
trying to do anything like that. I'm just saying, I'm not voting for it. I'm not voting against it. It's just a simple abstain because that's how I feel, and we're arguing how I feel.
No, we're arguing about you abstaining, but that's neither here nor there. We'll go to
That's what I'm
Jimmy.
saying.
What's your call?
No,
You take turn. Take a turn.
all I know is that the sidewalk project portion of the beach access that's in the plan of the township is going to be voted on in a few minutes, and I know where I'm voting. And that's got nothing to do with the rest of the beach access the township has in the written plan, whether it be in the villas or in Diamond Beach or in Breezy Lee Marina or in the marina behind Lucky Bones. All of the beach accesses and the accessible waterways that are in the plan aren't dead with a nail in the coffin, just the sidewalk plan that the people in Ward 2 do not want.
You know, I think that this is at this point, obviously, this is just to, obviously, to take it in front of the open spaces at this point is a moot point, so.
Right, to not take it in front of open spaces, Eric.
I'm sorry, yes, not take it is.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, I think the project's a great idea, but at this point, I think it would be a bad idea to take it before that at this particular time. And at another time, you know, like the mayor said, that's possible, but we're voting on whether to not apply to open spaces. So I guess I'm up, right?
Yeah, we're just comments now. We've got to go to public comment.
That's it, so
All right. No,
that's all I really have to say.
we made a terrible mistake by not doing a good job of communicating this to everybody well in advance. This has been discussed. People have been putting good work, lots of time into the planning since about 2010. But we didn't get the word out there. We didn't ask people to really think about it, consider it, and weigh in on it. And as a result, at the 11th hour, when people got wind of it, concerns were raised. I think Councilman Neville did the right thing by saying we need to hold on this thing, ask everybody to have a chance to weigh in on this. And it was clear how the folks felt about it. Heck, my mother called me and said, you know, she lives well back from the beach. She gave me the dickens for doing anything to mess up what she thinks is a really beautiful place to walk along. But I also understand, I also supported it because I've ridden my bike there many, many years, and I've seen many, many times how folks are, and you can, just the other day, they're carrying their beach materials along the street to get to the beach, and I saw how busy everything was. And so it's something that we're going to have to continue to think about and address. But as to the question of how we particularly solved this problem, it was clear that the people spoke, and that's why I'm voting against it now.
Okay, I've already explained my position here. Open up for public comment on this issue. Yes.
Eileen Kreis, resident and member of RAB.
Yes.
If I understand right, reading what the resolution is, it is not only voting to not go before open space for the grant. It's talking about not going for a grant at all.
That's correct.
So I don't know if all the councilmen understand that, because that's not what Councilman Simonson just said. He said
Well,
we're
I
not
think he was
going
just
for-
talking, that's the one that's, in fact, I thought we were already turned down for the other one, wasn't it?
No, that's because we didn't have our permit in hand at that time, but we can
Okay.
apply this year.
Well,
This resolution is not to not go before the open space grant from the county. This is to
To
not
withdraw,
do
yeah.
the project.
Withdraw
period.
the project,
So
period.
putting it on a shelf is not what's happening tonight.
well, the shelf could be a long-term shelf. Well, my point was that, you know, there could be a change in attitude towards this for whatever reason, and 10 years from now, it could be resurrected. You can't say that it will never, ever, ever, because,
Well, that's what the resolution says.
well, the resolution, well, you know, and again, you could turn around and change this resolution anytime you want. We could change this resolution next week.
Okay, and then comments were made. We had that meeting a few weeks ago where the public came out to speak. And you keep saying that it wasn't out there for the public to know about, but that's not true. It's been years. And the meeting that we came and we, as the rec advisory board, said that we think this is a good idea to go forward with it. All 5 of you thought it was a really good idea at the time as well and supported it, what's best for the township. There was a long time that passed between that meeting and the meeting that actually happened with those residents. During that time, a lot of misinformation was put out. There were people that were out blatantly telling lies about what the project is. There was nothing that countered that from the township. And as Rec Advisory Board members, we were really upset about that we didn't feel that council, who thought it was a good idea, who tonight are sitting here saying that, Norris, you said it was busy. You said you were down there and you saw the people, so you know there's a need for this. We're talking about what's best for the township, not what's best for the people who live right there. Why would it be okay, in the words of someone up there tonight that said, okay, well, the people that live there don't want it there. It's like not in my neighborhood. But if you want to put public access in the villas, go for it. You want to put public access in Diamond Beach, go ahead. But a few hundred people came out here, and there were people here that supported that. But there was such a, what I'll call a mob mentality here, that you couldn't get up to speak.
Excuse me, she has a right to speak.
It
She has a right
was.
to speak.
When everybody came in that day, there was music playing, there was that Don't Pave the Parking Lot song was going on.
They pay paradise.
Yes, there was not an opportunity to even really describe what the project was. Councilman Clark asked, is there anything we can say to change your mind? And a resounding no came up. So people came to dismiss this project without having an open mind to hear exactly what it was. They stood up here after Councilman Neville said we're going to kill the project and came up and said, well, why don't we fix our streets and why don't we fix the crosswalks? Well, if people had listened, they would have understood that that was part of the project. It isn't just a 6-foot sidewalk. It was fixing things. It was fixing the streets. It was fixing the drains. And I'm listening to you say that this is what these people want. A woman got up here and everyone was talking about not destroying the dunes. Don't destroy the dunes, don't destroy the dunes. We had Stu Farrell here with a ton of information about those dunes. He talked about the integrity of those dunes and how they would be shored at the end of the project. Eventually, after talking for a while, the woman finally said, we do not want more people on our bayfront. The truth finally came out of what she was saying. It wasn't that they don't want I can't say they. She didn't want the dunes put up. She doesn't want more people. Well, that's the mayor. That's what we have been talking about for years, is putting our township out there.
You can't, and I agree with you, that was said, but I can't judge the whole room by one person's
No, and I said
attitude. And I agree with a lot what you're saying, but you just can't hold a public meeting. And everybody has a chance to speak, and there wasn't a single person in that line that a microphone stretched to the back door. And there wasn't a single one that got up and said, hey, I'm here, I'm supporting this, et cetera, et cetera. We could have come in here and there could have been 250 people in favor of it. All right, but that didn't happen. And we would have said, okay, we'll move forward. But you ask for the opinion on a specific project and you get an unambiguous opinion. I mean, it was plain and right there at that point, during that day, at that meeting, and it was an open meeting to anybody. And whether it was the rec board, whether it was you, whether it was anybody that rallied 1,000 people to come down and say we support it, that would have been democracy. And you would have had the right to do that. I supported this project. I still think it has a lot of value, but I can't sit back and move forward with it when I have that kind of a set of circumstances.
But the 5 of you thought it was a good idea, and the 5 of you still think it's a good idea.
Eileen,
I thought it was a good idea, and even though I wasn't there when it was hatched, and I would have liked to see it, but today, the beach access that exists there today is the same as it was last week, and it's going to be the same as
But is it any less needed now than it was a few weeks ago?
Well, let me just say this much. As far as the safety, I grant you that there's still safety concerns down there. And that's something that is going to be addressed, and we've already spoken to a certain extent with the police, and there has to be some modifications down there as far as how to control the safety issue.
It doesn't control when I go down there with my grandchildren and they're coming out from the dunes and we're walking out and the 4-year-old might get a step ahead of me and we come out from the dunes, which are high, and we're in the street and now there's a car. Or when I'm driving down Beach Drive and I'm doing the speed limit and all of a sudden a little kid comes flying out from the dunes and he's in the street. Everyone says no one's been killed, there's been no bad accidents, but who wants to be the first one whose grandchild it is that gets hit by a car? Is that what's going to take for it to get done?
Well, I can't answer that, but I'm just saying that what we did is what we felt was appropriate, and that's where I'm standing.
I can tell you that I, as a Rec Advisory Board member and a citizen who uses that beach, and I use the beach right down the street from me here in the Villas as well. I utilize all the beaches along the bay. That I'm disappointed that you voted to not go forward with the project.
Okay, thank you.
And actually, the big difference is going to be the repairs, crosswalks, and the road repair are now going to be done by taxpayer money instead of grant money.
Okay. Does anybody else wish to address council? This lady here has her hand up.
Good evening. My name's Eleanor Chestnut. I am a member of the Property Owners Association.
Right.
I'm also a member of Save Our Shores Association, and I am a registered voter here in Lower Township. I've been here for over 27 years. I've been on the beach. I live at the beach. I live at 9 Beverly Road between Beach Drive or Shore Drive, whichever you call it, and right behind Town Bank. And we did a lot of investigating when we found out that their sidewalks were going to be on the Bayside. And we had a lawyer, we've had several engineers, and they all looked at the program, and I agree with Susan, it is dangerous up there. However, sidewalks are not the answer, and dune fences are not the answer. People go up there, whether you live there or whether you live anywhere else, they come to see the beauty. That's what Save Our Shores is about, saving our shores. Yes, you have to take some dunes away and you have to replant them. That's fine, but they're not going to be mature enough if another storm comes and hits us. And these storms are getting heavier and heavier every year. And we applaud Mr. Neville for standing up and backing us up because we're the ones who put him in office. And we're the ones that'll keep him in office.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Is there anybody else who wishes to address this issue? This gentleman at the end of the row here.
Jim Quinn. I live in Town Bank. I presently have flood insurance. And I really don't think moving or destroying dunes is good for Lower Township, especially Ward 2.
Okay.
So I short and sweet.
Right. Thank you. I mean, we're re-arguing the same issue, and I get that. We're just trying, but I'm just saying keep it brief if we're going to do this. And I appreciate your being brief. Somebody else had their hand up? Yes, that young lady back here.
I'm Maria Geegan, North Cape, May. I wanted to come here tonight because I'm part of the silent majority.
Okay.
I am here because I saw posters up for this meeting, which was here that Saturday, that I could not attend. And on this poster were some lies, and I had a big problem with that. It was to save the bayfront, and they're all lies. What they put together and what the Recreation Board and Mr. Moore, what they put together, so beautifully put together, for this bayfront to enhance it, to make it safe, I was very impressed with. I think it's a beautiful plan. And I was up at the bay, and can I bring this up to you?
Sure.
These are a couple of pictures of what's going on. I wanted to print up more, but I go up to the bay very often, and I see a lot of problems with the safety up there that the sidewalk would eliminate. And that's why I'm for it. And I'm here on behalf of the majority of Lower Township taxpayers this election year.
Thank you.
I feel this project should go forward. And if you can't go forward with it and ask for the grant, like Eileen said, could you please at least wait 6 months and could we talk about it again? Because it's so desperately needed. We need this down here, and people, their minds are too closed. Maybe they're not up there enough. Maybe they don't see it. Last night I was up there, and there were people walking on both sides of the street, and a car almost hit them. People were leaving Harpoon Henry's. They were pulling out and driving down the beach, and it was really dangerous. And how this is allowed to go on, and it hasn't been, I mean, we had 2 police captains, 2 police chiefs, I believe, Marker and the current, and they are for this project. So thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Keegan. There's somebody with a hand up here, please. Take your time.
Good evening. My name is Lois Jacobson. I live on Beach Drive. I've spoken before, so anyway, I'd like to thank the council, the mayor, for listening to what we had to say on that Saturday morning. The whole area is very dear to us, and anything that will impact and cause it to fall apart is very scary. Some of the things I might suggest is that we have more of a police presence. I watched the cars go by at 45 miles an hour when it's a 25-mile-an-hour zone, particularly on the weekend. People are crossing the street. Now, people don't look after their children very well, I will say that. The people are going along and the kids are way back there. If you're worried about your children, you should be holding their hand, keeping them in order, and to make them safe. As far as them running out in the street, if you don't have discipline with your children, then, you know, anything goes. But we need the policemen to just ride down the street now and then, or for a warning now and then to people who are driving. We could use more of those little floppy signs and more crosswalks that would control the traffic. And I also would offer that benches along the bayfront, there's quite a few places where it's low. They could have some benches there. That would be very nice. And people could enjoy the view. Thank you.
We have asked the police to enforce the speed limit, and we've also asked them to step up, stopping anybody that thinks that they can just pull up on the dune or on the side and unload their stuff.
That's a real problem.
Yes,
Okay.
that's been sent to
Well,
the police department.
they come with everything under the sun, the kitchen sink and the coolers and
Well, they
all
can
that.
find their parking
Remember,
spot and carry it, not just pull up, block everything, and
Right.
create a traffic hazard.
Exactly.
And there will be a press release coming out about that as well. Lauren's already working on that.
Good, good. If we can control the area that way, then I think that a lot of the safety issues may be under control. If there's signs about bicycles where they should ride, I notice that families string themselves out all the way across the road. And that's another problem with the little kids, you know, trailing behind. That's serious. I thank you again for listening.
Does anybody else wish to address council? There's a hand up over here, this lady. All right, Bill.
Yeah, Bill Greenfield, Villas. Maybe instead of having a discussion later about a referendum on the public safety building, you should have a referendum on this issue.
Okay.
I mean, since there seems to be so much pro and con, that way the majority of the township speaks.
No, I'm comfortable with where I'm at with it right now.
Okay. But I mean, I've heard a lot more people that are in favor of the public safety building, whereas with this issue, you seem to have a lot of disparate opinion.
Yeah, we did do the open government thing. We had an open public meeting here.
Okay.
And everybody had the opportunity to come down here and voice their opinion one way or the other. That's what I'm saying.
Let's learn a lesson from this. Out of due respect for all the work that went into it, if we ever contemplate something like this again, which is basically talking about a sidewalk along some of our most precious area, our precious Bay area, that's a big deal. We shouldn't contemplate doing something like that without standing up with trumpets blaring, inviting people in the beginning of the conversation to please come and be a part of the dialogue about what's the right answer to do this. If we had, what I honestly believe, my personal opinion, I said it that night, we voted in favor of something even though there were a bunch of people that didn't really understand it or didn't think they liked it. I think we should have stepped back and had that conversation before we voted. Because once we voted, that just made a lot of people more, my goodness, they're trying to put something over on me. And that made everybody even more fired up about it. So the lesson I've learned is we got to start early. We've got to make sure when we have these major improvements to our areas, we're going to get people involved. And then we have everybody with us along the way. Okay, and not wait till the 11th hour to try to explain it to folks.
Hey, just a suggestion, since there's such division of opinion among the public on this issue.
Okay.
Bye.
Somebody else had their hand up. This lady was ahead.
Linda Blanchett, Town Bank. Thank you, Councilman Clark, for your comments. I agree with that. I think early discussion could have yielded maybe a plan that was more acceptable to the people that live in the immediate area. But what I wanted to know, I want to try to get clarification on this resolution. I'm a little bit confused by the language. It seems to imply that The resolution is saying the mayor and clerk are further directed not to apply to Cape May County Open Space Program for funds or file a grant application for the above stated project. Does that refer only to open space funds, or does it apply to any funding source
Well, it
at
says
this
or grant
time?
application, so that would seem to include all possible funding. Is that correct?
It says you can't neither.
It's not
to
the
apply to
intent.
open space
Well,
or file
yeah,
a grant
we're
application.
not going to like pull a sneaky around the backside and apply for a grant somewhere else, if that's what you're concerned.
Well, I just wanted to make sure that it was clear what the resolution
we-
was directing the mayor and the clerk to do or not to do.
Project shelf for now. Now means 10 years, maybe, I don't know that. I'm just saying that any council can enact anything they wish to do at that specific time. Right now, we're off of that.
Okay.
Okay.
And one more question. At the end of the meeting on May 30th, which all of us that attended really did appreciate, and just to be clear, we did do a lot of homework before we came to that meeting. But anyway, at the end of the meeting, I believe there was a question about the nature of the resolution and whether there was one resolution required or two. And I thought that the response from the mayor and the council persons that were there was that there were two resolutions needed. One to rescind the initial resolution authorizing the grant application, and another rescinding the resolution that approved the project. And I just wanted to try to get clarification on that.
No, what we talked about was the fact that we were at a meeting to listen, but you can't have a council meeting at that meeting. So the idea that any decisions that are made have to be done here. At the last meeting, we had what we would call consensus to move forward. Everybody was in agreement that we are going to pass this resolution here, and we had that discussion last time out, or whatever.
And we got the
Solicitor to
Solicitor
draw up the resolution. So this is it. This is the last
One
piece.
resolution
This
is
is
necessary.
it. This is the piece.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Now, somebody else was looking. John?
John Skronsky, 607 Arding. I don't think the sidewalk will slow down any of the traffic. Whether you put a sidewalk there or not, people are still, some are going to drive fast and others recognize what it is. Also, there's not enough parking in that area. If you'd have put a sidewalk in to attract more people, where are those people going to park? The parking there right now is tough. I mean, people park blocks away as it is now. So that's my feeling on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve, did you have your hand up? Come on.
Steve Morey, Lower Township. I'm going to read because I have some technical and legal issues I'd like to discuss tonight with this possible resolution. Not going to be long.
Please keep it short, Steve.
It's 3 points. It was with much energy and dedication that the RAB, again, working with Recreation Superintendents, past and current, Township Manager, Public Works, Township Planner, and members of Council planned and developed the concept of the Beach Shore Drive Public Access Improvement Project with support of both the past and current police chiefs. But due to a few adjacent property owners who took it upon themselves to mislead their neighbors against not the project itself, but the fantasies of a few, to derail this public safety project to the detriment of the public at large. I would like to present 3 points prior to Council's decision on Resolution Number 2014-179 to rescind the Township's decision to request public funding for the Beach Drive Pedestrian Access Improvement Project, potentially leaving $1 million of available Lower Township taxpayer money on the table. Point number 1, public access. The coastal zone management rules, including the coastal goals and policies, are enforceable policies of New Jersey's coastal management program as approved under the Federal Coastal Zone Management Act. The New Jersey Coastal Zone Management Act program rules supplement policies include meaningful public access to and use of tidal waterways and their shores, including preserving public trust rights in tidal waterways, preserve and enhance views of the coastal landscape to enrich aesthetic and cultural values in vital communities, conserve and increase safe, environmentally sound, and meaningful public access from both the land and water to the tidal waterways and their shores for recreation and aesthetic experiences, enhance public access by promoting adequate, affordable public facilities and services, balance diverse use of tidal waterways and their shores, and protect and enhance, promote waterfront parks. The goals established in the New Jersey Coastal Zone Management Rules, as well of all the requirements in the Public Access Rule under 8.11, are the core of New Jersey's approach to public access. As the success of the state's public access goal is dependent on the commitment from local governments to implement it over time, the role of local governments in ensuring public access is of great importance. Local governments help to determine the future development of coastal lands and serve as gatekeepers for the public that seek to reach and use tidal waterways and their shores. Additionally, local governments have the responsibility to uphold the policies set by county, state, and federal governments, and have many opportunities to ensure that public access in their jurisdiction is ample and clearly defined. Point number 2, ADA access. In 2011, the Federal Architectural and Transportation Barriers Compliance Board proposed new rules and guidelines for pedestrian facilities and public access. These guidelines ensure that sidewalks, pedestrian street crossings, pedestrian signals, and other facilities for pedestrian circulation and use constructed or altered in the public right-of-way by state and local governments are readily accessible to and usable by pedestrians with disabilities. Number 3, sidewalk maintenance. As per Lower Township ordinances, the cost of maintaining sidewalks are the responsibility of the abutting property owner. In summary, the Beach and Shore Drive Public Access Improvement Project was planned and designed in compliance with the applicable coastal zone management rules. The project addressed the township's responsibility to provide meaningful public access to the Delaware Bay Beach and tidal waters in line with the policies of the state and federal Coastal Zone Management Act. Any road repairs that require encroachment into the dunes will require a DEP CAFRA permit. I can assure you that the public access rule will need to be addressed accordingly if any repairs are made to that road. Number 2, denial of the Beach and Shore Drive public access improvements leaves 1.5 miles of municipal public right-of-way with no ready access for pedestrians with disabilities to get from point A to point B along this popular road. The U.S. Department of Justice regulations and the Federal Highway Authority guidelines are enforced to ensure that local public agencies incorporate ADA and Section 504 requirements for all projects within the public right-of-way, regardless of funding source. This includes road repairs like overlays and resurfacings. Again, any road repairs done in the future on this project will require Township to upgrade their sidewalks and crossings to ADA compliance. Number 3, any sidewalk maintenance that may occur on Beach Drive relative to future road repairs paid for by the Township shall require adjacent property owners to pay for repair and replacement of substandard sidewalks in front of their properties. The decision to rescind Township efforts to acquire grants for these needed road improvements should not result in taxpayers footing the bill for future repairs to these sidewalks. Thank you very much.
And Steve, I have to give you an A for the meeting. I appreciate your being here on that Saturday. It was a difficult meeting, and you did your best as far under the circumstances. So I just wanted to say thanks on it.
Thank you. And on behalf of Stu, I think that
And Stu also, yeah.
I haven't heard anything in public, but, you know, he came down on Memorial
he
Day
did.
weekend.
Yes, and
I know at the public meeting, when we first discussed this project, everyone wanted to wait to hear what Stu Farrell had to say because they were worried about the dunes.
Right, and Stu didn't come down as paid,
Right.
you know, from,
Stu
he came down as a favor.
He did a very nice job describing the
And it was
dynamics of the
difficult.
dune system, and
Right.
he very clearly stated, and I'll state it for him again, he very clearly stated that the sidewalk project would have no impact on the dunes.
Right.
And it was quiet when he said that, and everybody was waiting for his scientific advice. He gave it. It was quiet. He sat down, and then the party started again. So I don't want to get off track. I want to be professional tonight and read to you some of my legal concerns and policy concerns. And Ron, you can research any of the things I stated to guide counsel on my statements. I want to make sure that I was correct in what I said. But due to my research, I believe that I was coming from the right direction. So Please consider all those points when you decide to vote on this resolution.
Okay, there's a lady here with her hand up.
I'm Pauline Pearson. I live in North Cape May, not far from the bay. I'm mainly I intended to really just participate as a citizen and a resident, but since Mr. Morey brings up the question of ADA, I will mention, although I'm not here representing the Department of Aging and Disability Services, that I am the disabilities coordinator in that department. And some of the residents had made me aware of the claims in favor of ADA access with this project. And I said that I preferred, and probably my department preferred me to kind of do a behind the scenes, I'll be a resource if it's necessary, because I would hate to be on the wrong side of not wanting access for people with disabilities in our community. I mean, that's what I've been 7, 8 years, you know, kind of trying to champion. But it's interesting that about 3 years ago, a family approached me from down there and said, you know, where is the access? Can we get access for our child who lives down there in a wheelchair to get them on the beach? And I mentioned to them that, you know, because the beach wasn't developed, because there were no lifeguards, because it wasn't a Wildwood or any of the other developed beaches, they would probably have very little to go on, to ask the town to make an entrance to the beach for their family member. So I'm really just saying, particularly on the heels of Mr. Morey's kind of bringing up the ADA thing, kind of be careful what you wish for, because I put out the beach access brochure every year from our department. So I know what communities, beach communities that advertise access for people with disabilities are required to do. And it would go far beyond moving dunes or a sidewalk. If we start championing a project to give access to people with disabilities, look at the brochure and see what other communities who have opened their beaches up and are touting that, what they provide. Are we going to have accessible restrooms down there once we open the Pandora's box and invite everybody to come and use that beach like a Wildwood or even a Cape May Point? Cape May Point is probably the least developed in our brochure for access for people with disabilities. They don't have a restroom at all, but if they did, it would have to be accessible. Where is the handicap parking going to be? Because again, if you're going to open this and say, well, you know, part of why we're doing this is to give people with disabilities access, you've got to be true to the thing. You got to see it through, and it's a whole lot more than putting a sidewalk. It's those beach wheelchairs that go for about $1,500 a piece. Are we going to provide them? Are we going to lock them up somewhere? Are we going to have somebody monitor how they're taken out and brought back at night? So that's really all I want to say. I'm, as I said, I'm not really representing the department, but since I'm sitting here and I know what it requires, I would hate for a project to wave the flag for a project to give access for disabilities when really nothing that I've seen, and people did bring some stuff to me, spells out any of that. And I don't hear any of you saying that that's what we want to happen, that we're prepared to really give access. We're going to open up this beach, a very narrow beach, by the way. We're going to open up this beach, and part of it is to give access to people with disabilities. In that case, I would like you to come to my office and you know, ask me what is required, because then I would feel very comfortable giving some advice. But so far, I haven't seen anything that says it's going to be a bigger project. So if it's not going to be a bigger project, if we're not opening it like a Wildwood or a Stone Harbor to the public, then we shouldn't be saying, you know, we're going to give access to people with disabilities. And if we are going to give access, it's going to take a lot more ADA requirements than anything I've heard here tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else who wishes to address council? Lady in the back.
Hi, my name is Kathy Healy. I live in Villas, and I just wanted to say kudos to the town for listening to the people in the community. And I think you are being open enough to listen to both sides, because as I understand it, you still are looking into making that a safer place for people
Yes.
to commute. So I think you're, you know, it's a hard act to juggle, and I think you're trying to address both sides, not just one side. And so I hope that's understood by people.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? There's a gentleman back here.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Joe Gansey. I live in North Cape May, New Jersey. I am a voter here, and I am part of the Property Owners Association. And I would like to thank the RAB for all the work they put into the project. I think it was they were thinking well of the township. But I did talk to the Army Corps of Engineers. I did talk to the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection Coastal Engineers. I did talk to the Office of Disability and Aging. I did talk to Stockton. I did read the Stockton College reports. I looked at a lot of different things. That's what I used to do in my former life as an emergency management planner. And everything I looked at on this project isn't going to really address what we really need to do. I'm going to keep it short. That's it. I'm against the project. I think they really had the right idea in mind, but I think the project is wrong. And I would love to have a chance to sit down and run through it once again, maybe next summer, you know, or something like that when everybody's around again and we can talk about it. But thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else? Close the public portion. Do I have a motion? That's where we're at, right? I've lost track.
Yeah. I'll make the motion.
Second.
Councilmember Conrad?
You're right, I can't abstain. I have to back the REB on this, because it's true what we're doing. No.
Councilmember Neville?
Yes.
Councilmember Simonson?
Well, this means obviously killing the project indefinitely, so I vote no.
Deputy Mayor Clark?
Yes.
Mayor Beck?
Yes. Okay,
Regular agenda?
let's go. Let's get on.
Resolution number 2014-183, a resolution of the Township of Lower County, Cape May, State of New Jersey, approving the findings of Phoenix Advisors LLC as related to the dissolution of the Lower Township Municipal Utilities Authority.
Mike, are you
Mouthful.
walking point on this one?
Well, this is part of the study of the dissolution to do the financial plan to make sure that everything that's being presented is accurate. And I'd ask Robert at this time if him or Allison would like to discuss it.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, 183 basically just selects one of two options. Is that correct, Bob? Maybe you could explain that?
Yes. Is this on, or do I have to do something?
It's on.
You got to put it close, I think, is what the key is.
Perhaps I'll let Alexis go into the details on it, but essentially what was required, or what is required by the local finance board when there is debt involved with a utility authority that is being considered for dissolution, it requires an analysis and a certification from someone that you are choosing the best method. And the two methods, one would be to assume the debt, the second would be to have a refunding of all that debt. It appeared that it was intuitively better to assume it, but I cannot make that certification that it is the best. So for that reason, you engaged a financial advisor who did a very detailed analysis of the debt either assuming it or having a refunding, and they concluded that assuming it would be the best for the township if you proceed. Alexis, would you like to?
Bob covered it, but to expand a little bit, one of the legal requirements for dissolution is a resolution by the governing body to either assume the debt or to issue their own debt, their own township debt to refund the outstanding authority obligation. The resolution from the governing body needs to state what the most cost-effective means of dissolution are. So therefore, we had Phoenix Advisors, an independent financial consultant, run an analysis of all of the authority's outstanding debt and what the interest rates are. And then they provided a comparison of what the township would look like if they were to issue their own as opposed to assume the authority's debt. And in the summary that they provide, as Bob had stated, it was clear that the assumption of the authority's debt is more cost-effective than the township issuing their own debt. One of the reasons is that the authority has 2 low-interest USDA loans, and the other 2 outstanding obligations are both refunding bonds, which were issued in 2012 and 2014, I believe. Both of those are also low interest at the time. So this resolution is just approving the findings of Phoenix Advisors that the assumption of debt is more cost-effective than the township issuing their own.
Okay. Mike, do you have any questions on this?
No, I just want to apologize. It's Alexis, not Alice. I know her mom and dad for years, and I apologize for the name error.
Okay, when you're talking about assuming debt, I get scared. This is no different than what we already do. Is this correct? It will have no impact on the township's finances. Is that correct?
It will and it won't. And let me
explain where we're at.
Okay. Here's why I say it will and it won't. Presently, the township has the ability to issue somewhere over $100 million of debt and still be within the statutory requirements of the state of New Jersey. Due to the rather unique situation that you would be assuming this debt prior to having a utility fund within the township having the history to show that it is self-liquidating, although we did conclude that it would be, for the first year, it would not be considered a deduction against your net debt. So it would increase your percentage of net debt from, correct me if I'm wrong here, something like 0.42 up to 0.85%. Your allowable debt limit is 3.5%. So it really has no harm, no foul on the township. Secondly, the debt of a utility fund is paid through the utility fund, and therefore it is paid by the users as it already is. So it does not have any adverse effect on the users of the system, nor does it have an adverse effect on the taxpayers of the township. So and I would strongly suspect, and I can't say this but because it's the future, but I would suspect that it will be self-liquidating, meaning that your percentage of net debt will drop down drastically again.
I'll add that upon dissolution, the township would be authorized to take all of the means necessary to pay down that debt. One of such things would be dedicating the revenues from the utility fund to pay that debt service directly. So, were the township council to decide that they wanted to make that strict requirement that the revenues of the utility would go directly towards the debt service, you would have the legal authority to do so.
Okay, so we already guarantee the bonds, correct, Lauren, of the MUA. Okay, so we're already in this game. All right, so questions from council on this?
I read the report. It's very clear, very well written. But who's Phoenix Advisors? Who authorized it and how much did it cost? We're talking about communications a minute ago with the public. I'm sitting on your council and there's a resolution about Phoenix advisors. It's like the whole thing about the MUA. I go away, it's on for the meeting that night. When I come back, something's not, we're talking about communicating with the public, how about we start doing it up here?
Well, you know, I think that council authorized the manager to proceed.
The manager to look into it. Now I'm finding there's all these other professionals that have been hired.
And I mean, it wasn't going to be done by him. It was an independent report, and this is part of it. This is setting the table to where we're at.
How much is it? Did it cost?
I don't know.
Lauren, it was less than, yeah, about $4,000.
Okay.
It's part of the investigation to give you the intelligent information to make an intelligent decision.
And this
on
is something
how-
we needed
if we
to
should
do
move forward.
for the State Finance Board.
It's
for the
it's
board.
required,
Move
yes.
forward. It seemed pretty obvious, though, the answer.
Well, the answer seemed
But
obvious
you-
beforehand, but the finance board has to have
Has
a
to have that.
certified answer.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
If we didn't provide it with the application, they would probably send us home, tell us to get it,
Okay.
and then have us come back.
All right. So we're moving forward with that. Who else has questions on this thing? All right, do you have any questions?
So we're taking over debt for the MUA, but we haven't taken over the MUA yet, is that correct?
This is just.
No, this is just.
That's part of the investigation.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Questions? Questions? Okay, open up to public comment on,
There's a lady down there.
where's the, I see a hand. Would you step forward?
I'm the puzzler, Mary Reeder in Villas. And I'm puzzling related to the procedure discussed earlier with Town Bank residents because I hear another $1 million, whoopee. So, I have difficulty with the incredible $1 million savings township officials are sure of. Perhaps others like myself need to see figures and data related to this amazing sure thing. I'm still feeling that if this dissolution is a no-brainer, how is it that now is the time to act on it? Why was this no-brainer of $1 million a year income not decided a year or 5 years or 10 years ago? And I'll just proceed, and I wrote it so that I don't get off track. I don't know how, what's his name, the person who prepared the data for the dissolution, I don't know really who he is. Has he been or is he under contract for other township entities? Did he communicate with MUA personnel to develop his report? I didn't hear that. Has the MUA board had any input, particularly any differences of data to agree or disagree with concerning that $1 million savings per year? I'd appreciate seeing how and what the auditor, what did I write? Where are my glasses? Oh, there they are, but I won't. It's just one word. It was mentioned that we MUA customers could count on no increased rates for years if this dissolution happens. When did we last get an increase? You've said in passing that we're going with the flow, that numerous townships have taken over their MUAs. To reassure us, please provide, in print preferably, evidence that their rates have been maintained since dissolution. I'd like to know what and when in our region's water systems have been privatized. And then I have a note. I ask because so often I hear that privatization, which is for profit, saves money, maybe even more than 1 million. That would be interesting. Okay, to promote reasonable, maybe believable savings, how and what would sharing of services mean to the township and the MUA? If it has been considered, what evidence caused it to be rejected? I like evidence that I can see, and as you know, I'm trying to see. Is sharing services still a reasonable approach, causing the least disruption and expense of organization services, employees, and administration? I'm talking about the costs involved in dissolution. Thank you.
Okay. Is there anybody else that wishes to comment on this? Yes.
Tom Fridoli from the Villas. I'm also a board member on the MUA. I have some concerns I'd like to have addressed. Now, I found out a little bit about who Phoenix advisors are and where they're from. What was the basis used to come up with these figures and these numbers that they gave us? Do they have any kind of information pertaining to MUA audits or things like that?
I think you've got things confused.
That's what I don't understand, because it's...
Well, the Phoenix advisors did the study on the...
whether it's cheaper.
Yeah, on the bond issues.
Whether it's more economically.
They didn't do the original, you've got this backwards.
Well, that's good, because I don't think you people are aware of what you're getting involved with, but we're going to make you aware of it. That's our responsibility. So be prepared that we're going to be very, very, very nice, and we're going to educate you on what you need to know before you go with any dissolution. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else wish to address council? Yes.
Jack Sparks. I was here to the meeting before last, and when this topic first came up, and a woman came to the microphone and with a question or a conversation. I don't know what her name was, but she said, "You're going to save $1 million a year?" And the question was answered, "Yes." Good luck. And she left. And it kind of sums it up. If we're going to save $1 million a year, have the same type of service and combine the two services to one, why, I mean, I just can't understand why you would want to dissolve it, maybe because, I don't want to insult Tom, but maybe you're a little slanted there because you're a commissioner. Maybe that's got something to do with it. I don't know. But if you're saving that kind of money, and this gentleman here said he has the facts and figures to prove that, then I don't think there's much of a decision. The governor, when he ran for office the first time and the second time, he wanted everybody to combine services, combine towns, combine things to save money. I mean, this is pure and simple. Mm-hmm. This is the Republican governor that wants this done. And not to go along with that is a big mistake. He's the one that brought about the 2%. Don't increase it by 2% or you have to go for a vote. And it's worked extremely effective here and other towns in Cape May County also. So not to combine it would be, I think, a lack of responsibility. Unless somebody can come up with facts and figures prove that it's going to cost us $1 million to do it, or something like that, short of that, I don't know how you can possibly be against it. The people that are working there, I understood the vast majority of them would be working for the township, or the township would do everything they could to make sure that they come on. I know one thing, Mike Beck, I've found out over the last 10 or 12 years. Mike Beck doesn't like to lay anybody off. And so far, he's done that. He tells the story that his father got laid off, and he said he wasn't going to do that so long as he sat there. That wasn't going to happen.
No.
And I'm sure the people that work at the MUA can have that same feeling that he's not going to leave them without a job somewhere within this township. And not to do this is, I think, irresponsible. And I hope you guys go through with it and get this job done for the township. There seems to be some politics played in this thing. Yeah, as usual, but the people that are against this, I think should be very, very careful to be against saving money like this. This is a winner, and that woman, she did your poll for you when she said, you're going to save $1 million? That's the answer, and that's what the people in Lower Township are going to remember and think about. I will guarantee you that. Thank you.
Yeah, just so that we can clarify, just to make sure people understand, we're talking, this resolution that we're discussing is not the bond ordinance itself. This is just a piece of that bond ordinance that goes into it. So we're going to have to do another discussion in a couple minutes about the MUA again, correct? Yes. So, okay, is there anybody else who wishes to discuss the study that was done about the local finance board application? Okay, close the public portion. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll move.
I'll second.
Councilmember Conrad?
No.
Councilmember Neville?
Yes.
Councilmember Simonson?
No.
Deputy Mayor Clark?
Yes.
Mayor Beck?
Yes.
Resolution number 2014-184, a person-to-person transfer of liquor license number 050533, 004004, which will be 005, to Spicer Creek North Incorporated. This is a transfer from Cape May Two Brothers Incorporated, trading as Captain's Cove Mayors, to Spicer Creek North.
Okay. Do I have any council comments on this? Do I have any public comments on this resolution? Close the public portion. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Councilmember Conrad?
Yes.
Councilmember Neville?
Yes.
Councilmember Simonson?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Clark?
Yes.
Mayor Beck?
Yes.
Resolution number 2014-185, this is for an appointment to the Zoning Board of Adjustment.
Okay, do I have any council comments on this?
I think we only have one
One applicant?
Ernie Utch.
Ernie
I'll make
Utch.
the motion, we accept him.
I'll second that one.
Well, we have to have the public,
Okay, sorry.
public portion on this. Do I have any comments on 2014-185? Appointment to the zoning board. Close the public portion. Go ahead, Tom.
Motion to approve Ernie Utch.
Second.
Councilmember Conrad?
Yes.
Excuse me, please. Tom? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Councilmember Conrad?
Yes.
Councilmember Neville?
Yes.
Councilmember Simonson?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Clark?
Yes.
Mayor Beck?
Yes.
Resolution number 2014-186, these are appointments to the planning board. There are 3 appointments.
3 appointments and 3 applicants.
Applicants, okay. Do we have any public comment on 2014-186? Close the public portion.
Motion to accept all 3 in the same position they were
Wait,
prior.
you have their names? Do you have to read their names?
Oh, we have to read the names. We have
Sorry.
Daniel
hold on.
Seneco, Paul St. John, and Christopher McDowell.
McDowell.
Okay.
McDowell.
McDowell. Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Councilmember Conrad?
Yes.
Councilmember Neville?
Yes.
Councilmember Simonson?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Clark?
Yes.
Mayor Beck?
Yes.
Resolution number 2014-187. This is a resolution determining whether to authorize submission of a question to the non-binding referendum concerning the public safety building.
Okay. Eric, I think it's your initiative.
Well, recently I understand it was a tour of the public safety building by our freeholder director, also the county director of operations, architect and engineer. I reached out to freeholder Thornton and asked what that tour was about. They apparently are looking for a place to house the Office of Emergency Management, which at this time is housed in the county library basement. You know, for those who don't know, if we abandon that building because of the lease that we're in, we are responsible for all of its repairs. If it goes to demolition, we are also responsible for those fees. In speaking with the freeholder, I found out that they have interest, the county has interest in possibly taking over half of that building to be used for emergency management, as well as in the future, possibly our county dispatch, which we've talked about sharing. That would also, with that in mind, I know the architect found that it was structurally sound. They would also pay for all the remodeling and refurbishing of that half of the building, including the roof, which would leave us to pay for the remodeling and refurbishing of the police building, the half of that building, and the roof, which would give our police a state-of-the-art building and not just a no-frills building if we moved it back here. There's also some other issues as far as our fire safety and our EMTs could stay where they are housed as they are now. And it would obviously resolve a lot of the problems that we're facing with moving forward. As far as a police building, it would save millions of dollars, millions, plural, millions of dollars it would save. Like I said, we would only be responsible for half of that building. And not only that, but you'd have everything under one roof, emergency management, fire safety, police, as well as our EMTs. It is also, I know we've talked before about the airport, and its location is the highest ground in the township. We use it every time there's a major storm. We used it during Sandy and the storms before Sandy as a place of refuge for people, animals, shelters. We also obviously have the airport there as well, and that would keep it centrally located. With that in mind, I just felt that, you know, I've always had a problem with the fact that we have only had one option, and this gives the township another option. And I believe that if we put the question, obviously there's going to be meetings going forward, and I'd like to be part of those, Manager, if we meet with the county regarding that. But I believe that, you know, we're talking about bonding. It's great. I think it's great. You know, it's cheap and we can do it, so let's get in more debt. And I don't believe that that's, you know, if someone tells me I have more credit on my credit card at a lower rate, I don't go out and max it out. So, you know, it's nice that we have that, but you don't go spend money just for the sake of spending it. And this is an opportunity to save a lot of money. But with that being said, it's something that the people should really decide. It's a major undertaking. It's a major, you know, it's something that's going to impact this township for years to come. And that's why I believe that, you know, it should be a question put on the ballot in November. Obviously, if we go forward with that, we would all have to agree on the question and what it actually says as far as details. But that's why this was, I asked this to be on the agenda.
Tom? I asked for something like this a couple months ago. I was told we had to wait for, because I wanted a more specific thing, so I'm supportive of it going to the public.
All right, let's frame this real quick. Okay, you've had talks with the county that we don't know anything about, and can you explain it again? I'm not 100% sure of what we have here.
I believe it was
Because up until about a minute ago, I don't know anything about this.
Yeah, and Eric, I toured the building with Marty Paglugi in the Office of Emergency Management with Manager Vole.
So, Vol, do you know about this?
No. This was about 3 months after I was elected, which would have been about a year and a half ago. And we offered them to talk to see if they were interested. I haven't heard a word since. That was a year and a half ago. So
This to me, and I'm going to start this. This is a continuation of what we had a couple months ago, where you come in at the 11th hour and you stick a spoke, or you put a stick in the spokes. It's obstructionism. Now, if there's something coming from the county, they should have reached out through the manager to us. And if they're going to inject themselves into this thing, I think they should have had the courtesy to notify the manager.
The manager is trying to answer the question.
Well, I didn't talk to any of you council people. I had a phone call Saturday morning from the county administrator that wanted to talk with me. I didn't want to talk about it publicly till we started negotiations, but I did talk to Mike Laffey, who's the administrator, and he said he wanted to set up a meeting. Now, I didn't want to say anything until I heard back from him about when we're going to have a meeting, and then I was going to advise council to see who wanted to participate.
You know,
And was there a meeting several weeks ago that you attended with the county?
Sure.
Okay,
yes.
I knew nothing about that
I was
That
at the
was-
county meeting, and the mayor was with me, with
They
very
called
important.
Yeah, they asked us to come up, and they just wanted to know
About
very
the building.
superficially
Right.
what we were doing and whether or not.
But did you let
Obviously,
council know about that?
Obviously, you're having like a major dialogue with the county here. What we basically did was go up to make sure to allay their fears that we weren't going to dump a building on them. That's all it was. And to sit back, and at the end of it, Jerry Thornton said, tear it down. Correct, Mike?
Yes, you're correct.
Okay, and we met with them, and it was basically, they asked us what we were doing, they had read in the paper about this, and I said, well, we don't have this in the bag yet because we need 4 for a bond ordinance, and they understood that. They said, well, when the day comes, tear it down. We don't want it sitting there, it doesn't fit into the plans with the county. It is not an essential building. Do you understand that? That means that from what and I wish the architect was here because he could explain that a lot better to us. But at one point during the meetings, we were told it would cost a lot of money to determine at the state level that it's an essential building. We could pour a lot of money into that building, and yet you can't have people, they use it as the Alamo right now. They go back there in case of a flood, high ground. You would spend a fortune not only on the roof, but in establishing that it's an essential building. We have been discussing this issue since 2001.
Which is why I think put it on the ballot and it solves the problem.
2001, we did the ultimate in open government. Listen to me. You know, I'm out here on this. You know, you would love to see a headline that says that we're against open government, we're against a referendum. And I'm sitting here saying the headline should read, obstructionist ride again. We had this a couple months ago where in the 11th hour at different meetings, you would pull a rabbit out of the hat in the attempt to derail the meeting. And now this is just on a grander scale. We had an engineering report in 2004 that basically said, and regardless of the building, which you're going to end up spending a lot of money on one way or the other, and it's tax money, whether it's county money or Lower Township money, the minimum for a framed roof was $2 million. And then you sit back and the energy cost and the potential savings, if you look at the original report, puts the cost over the next 20 years at about $5.8 million to stay there. A new building would cost us about 3.5 and relatively minor energy in comparison. So you actually are spending more to stay there.
Not if it's half the building.
Now, it depends on the circumstances, but again, you're not going to be able to, and again, here we are. We've been playing with this for 10 years. We went and had a committee. We've been to the county. the county hasn't given us anything that, this is the first I'm hearing about this. And in fact, like I said, we had a meeting a month ago, Mike?
Yeah, it was about a month ago, 6 weeks ago.
And this idea was never mentioned to us there. This whole concept of them coming in here and doing this.
Well, you said over 10 years, if we put it on the ballot and let the people decide, that's, you know, then it puts
Well,
it
you
to
don't
rest.
even know what the county wants to do, but you want to put it on the ballot. And that's the part that I'm saying. It's obstructionism. If the county has a proposal, they should send a proposal and we can look at it. We've already, what some of the money we've spent, $200,000 to buy the Manzoni building. We just hired an architect a couple weeks ago. And then they read the papers just like we do. The point I'm trying to say is that we're moving forward. I'm not in favor of a referendum. If they have something they want to bring to us, then bring it, but we have nothing concrete. We've already hired an architect. You would think that they would have said something to us a couple of weeks ago when we were up there. But what do you feel? What do you feel? Fire away.
Just as a point of information, could anyone tell me when was the last time this township had a referendum on an issue?
30 years?
On any issue?
In 1983, 84, was the Charter Study Commission, was a binding referendum. Actually, I had to call Claudia because I don't know this stuff. There was a non-binding referendum after that, but I've not been able to find it in the records yet. I'm still searching.
Well, I know one thing, Eric. I mean, we ask people to elect us to make decisions. And for what it's worth, 2 years ago, number 2 on my list was enhance public safety by constructing a cost-efficient public safety addition to the township annex on Bay Shore Road, which means bringing the cops back where they belong, next to Town Hall, where every other community in South Jersey houses their cops. If I'm going to get unelected for that, that's fine. But here you go. Eric will have one priority, protecting the taxpayers of Lower Township. That should be spending the money the best way. And he's not going to be a rubber stamp for the wrong priorities. I don't want to condemn the cops to another generation in a building that's 70 years old and full of mold.
And it's more than just the financial end of it to come back.
The county said nothing in a year and a half after we toured Marty Pagliucci. Now you're coming back, yeah. If you got something on paper.
Deliver a message from the freeholder here about a proposal at a council meeting, I resent that and I am angry about it. And I doubt that there's a communication here, and I think that that's rotten, if that's true.
We do have some high-ranking county officials back there.
The question was to put it on the ballot, let the people decide.
Yeah, my question is, all of a sudden, your excuse to put it on the ballot is secret information that I've got from the freeholder.
No, it's been 10, you just said it's been 10 years of bickering over. Let's put it to rest and let the people decide.
And, you know, did you say when you approved the Public Safety and Building Committee, either one of you, 4 years ago, when we had the committee, did you say that's not a good idea?
I actually had questions. No, yes.
Did you say at that time, when we were sitting back and appointing a citizens committee for the first time in memory to look at an issue that spent 6 months, what was that, a joke? That those people put the time to look at this issue and decided unanimously that this was going to be the way to go?
They never had another option.
Now we get a message at 1 minute to midnight. You call this what it is. It's obstruction again. And if the freeholder director has a message to come down here and give us a proposal, he should have sent it down to the manager, not to have it hand-delivered by one of the Republican cronies from over here, the council people.
Are we done? I had questions for that public safety building from the beginning that...
No, I'm not.
You brought it up. You stopped. You said, all right.
Obstructionism at its finest.
Yes, and you've been expert at that over the years. But when we started that committee, I had questions I wanted to charge them with. They came, gave the report. They said, oh, we weren't charged. You stopped the questions. I tried to get certain things answered. Now, you can argue all you want about that. That's not the point. Here's my point. No, I'm talking. My turn.
If you were in charge of D-Day, we'd still be drinking tea in England. I got news for you.
And if I had I love how it's do as I say, but not as I do.
You can't make a decision.
That's funny.
We're just cronies. We can't make decisions.
Okay.
That's right.
So don't worry about that part. Now, if this place is
So we do believe in open government.
if this place is full mold, what are we doing? Oh, that's right, we can't talk.
Open government, you can't get any better than a committee of citizens that we voted unanimously to appoint. And, you know, we got a report from it that was unanimous by the committee to do exactly what the original report in 2004 recommended.
So all the members
And we've
voted.
been playing it now for year in, year out. And here we are, right at the stroke of midnight, and here it comes in the front door, a proposal. You have to be kidding me, right?
That's not what it said.
And
asked
how
for
are
it
we
about.
even going to sit down and do a referendum if it's not a proposal? I mean, because a referendum has to be precise, and you have to know what you're putting on a referendum to do it. You can't just say, we think that maybe the county might do this. Do you think you'd like that, or would you think you would like this? It has to be precise.
You have to agree to a referendum first. I realize you love putting the cart before the horse, you know, taking over debt for the MUA before you actually take it over and all these other things, but this is something that, you know.
My question, if that building is so full mold, why are the police still there? What are we doing to remedy that?
That is a good question.
And you know what, I got another question. If that building is so bad, how come the first option in your police report, or in the public safety building report, was to put the school children there for an alternative school? Or sell the building, administrative buildings in Lower Township and Lower Cape May Regional, and move the administration
They didn't
there?
like that building either. What they said was that we had invested, thanks to the council, $4 million into that building. And like I've said before, we had to squeeze the lemon before we could come back. I didn't ask for a new building in 2001 when I was here, or in 1998 when I was elected. I didn't even think of that. I knew that this was a bad decision to put it there, but I waited. I waited till we squeezed that lemon and got every drop out of it we could, so that we could then sit back before the day comes when we have to put a $2 million truss roof on there.
That's
Then
your
that would
estimate,
be
$2 million.
Well, it was the estimate of the architect. And that was
Right, the
estimate-
architect that you just gave a no-bid contract to, for how much?
the same- it was the
$192,000?
same- While we're at it, and I mean, Solicitor, would you explain that contract, please?
It's a professional service contract.
Is it done the same way we did it for the last 14 years?
Right, and I believe we searched, that's always the way it's been done. in
Always
Lower
the way it's
Township.
been done.
Mr. Solicitor, were all the ones in the past given to someone that volunteered on this committee?
I think that I was the only professional hired this year where it was put out to bid. Other than that one, I don't believe the clerk found a record of any other professional being hired in a bid situation.
That wasn't my question. Were any of those other non-bid contracts, were they volunteers on the same committee that they voted for?
I don't know.
It's a not, you know,
The answer's
again,
probably
it's
no.
not a board of record, and again, it was a situation where he lent his expertise.
Well, it's my understanding they're advisory committees, they're not binding.
Right.
Yeah, but you have a person that voted on moving it and then got the contract to do the work for it. That, to me, that makes
Well,
no sense.
You know, and we have that in a number of boards, in some ways, and, you know, not for anything, but the guy put a lot of time into it, and he's saving us a fortune, and that was well, Michael, am I correct on that? Step up.
No, yes, you are. I mean, you're correct. If we're going to do the police building, you couldn't have a better guy to do it.
But we don't know that because we didn't ask anybody else, correct?
What we're discussing here now is whether it's a good idea to put this to a public referendum. That's what the discussion is. And three of us ran, stating publicly to everyone who would vote for us that this is one of the things we wanted to do over 2 years ago. So that was one public referendum. But the reason they elected us is to make decisions like this, to analyze the information we've been going over for years. We have to make these decisions. That's why they elect us.
You said 10 years. That's correct?
Well, the original report that said, in 2001, there was a state report that came in here and said, take a look at your building. And it cost us money. And in 2004, we had an engineering firm who looked at the building, and they said right away, their option number one was to come back here. They also appreciated the fact, the handicap was the investment the township had put into the current building. But as time goes on, that investment, the cost of it diminishes in the sense that we got use out of it. Now we're faced with the proposal at some point in time to put mega money into it, even though, as we know, it's a non-essential building. And the question is, do we want to, and that is, you know, there's more components than simply the economic side of this. There's not only that, there's the administrative side, which is that the manager's most important, in some ways, department for public safety, certainly the most important, is located 2.5 miles, 2 miles away. Okay, that just is, in every town you go into, just about, you'll find the police station next to town hall. Here, we have people that are lost, get lost even further trying to get to the police station to get directions. And the courts. You don't have public transportation.
No, instead we'll have people coming to court waiting out there where the kids are going to school and playing at the rec center, going to the library. That's great.
And I look at it this way. I look at it, and it's not open for public comment yet. It will be. I look at it from the perspective, you know, not for anything, for what's happening in the world. I'd be pretty happy to have my police department 100 feet from the kindergarten and the preschool. I'd be pretty happy to have the police department headquarters located 100 feet from the front door of the rec center or the senior center.
And how many police are in the police department?
Pardon me?
How many police are in the police department? This is not the Keystone Cops. They're out on patrol. They're not waiting
I
at the
got
station
it,
to
but there's an
respond.
intrinsic value to the police building. Now, you said last time police buildings don't make arrests, and I get that. But how many of you have been riding down a road, and up ahead you see a police car, and you slow down? And then you get up next to the police car and find out that there's nobody in it. So there's a value to that police car sitting there, just as there's a value to a police building sitting here on Bay Shore Road. The sign. You have, of all places in Ward 1, you have and Ward 2, part of it, a drug epidemic that's been well documented.
And I would like to see more police officers.
And we're doing that too.
The cop.
And we're doing that
Okay.
now. It's on the agenda
Now,
from
yes.
tonight. Okay? And the point is, and of course, it's not only administrative, but it's also from the sense of police philosophy. They belong here. They never should have been moved out of here. And it's not a question of them belonging here, it's returning them here. All right, no, I can't support this. I'm not going to be derailed at this point in time by something that we don't know a single thing about. And you know, the whole idea of a messenger coming down here to drop this off, I don't appreciate it a little bit. Okay, it's not the channels, it's not the way it's done, and I want to know why it was done this way.
The question is whether to put it on the ballot or not.
I got that.
Can we vote on that?
Yeah, well, we can, but I'll have my day in this courtrum, I guarantee
You always
you that.
do, and you have the last word
you know
on it,
what?
and no one else is allowed to.
Well, fire away,
I'm ready.
okay? Because you know, the whole idea,
Public comment.
wait a second, I'm not done yet. I still have more to say up here,
Of course.
all right? You know, I'm getting there. And not only that, the last thing is the chief of police sat here and fully supports moving back here too. So we'll go to public comment now. Yes, this gentleman's coming up the center here.
Dan Anderson, Town Bank Road. Why can't we postpone this until the next meeting and decide then? Will we have some facts and figures? Could that be possible, Eric?
Yes, at this point, we're just voting on whether to put the question.
If we knew what we were voting on,
Well,
we
that's
don't
not
have any
important.
idea.
That's not important. That'll never stop.
If we had something to go by, that's my point.
No, what we're voting on, and he's twisting it, what we are voting on is whether to put a referendum question that will be developed by us, whether to move the police station back or leave it where it is, on the ballot in November, to let the people decide.
You don't have anything to go by, though.
I know that.
Eric, what he's
That's the
asking you
problem.
for
Let's
is
put on for
is
it
the
anyway.
county's proposal, is that coming through?
All right, we have people that wish to address. This gentleman coming up the aisle.
I was in office when we moved it, the police department.
What year was
from over in where the
Public Works?
dump is now. And the consideration was to move it here, and we also built the recreation center at the same time. And I don't ever remember anybody saying they don't want a police station around where a school is. I mean, that's ludicrous to say that. That doesn't even make sense. The main part of this is to put it on a referendum. I mean, that is a silly, bad idea to start doing that kind of stuff. Do the freeholders do it? The great freeholders that just sent Eric down here to present this, do they put anything on the ballot? No, they don't put anything on the ballot. They know what their job is. They get elected, and they're elected to do a job. They're not elected to sit there and say, well, whatever they want on a referendum, that's what I'm going to do. You know what you have if you have an election? In an off-year election, you're going to have about 40% of the people vote. Out of that 40% of the people, a great deal, probably about 20%, and I'm being pretty conservative here, will vote for that. They're going to vote for, historically, people vote for individuals, and the issues don't get anywhere near of what the individuals get. So now you're talking maybe, if you have a majority that says that they don't want it, maybe about 12 or 13%. We already know this fact, Mr. Simonson. 10% of the people will be against anything that's done. I don't care what it is. You say you're going to have the freeholders are going to send down gold streets. They'd be against that. 10% will do that. You can't worry about the 10%. You've been elected to do a job, to use your brain and to think what's good for this town. Not
That's why I will be in those
Don't interrupt me.
meetings.
I don't interrupt you. I do not interrupt you. When we're playing political games, and that's what this is.
Okay.
This is a political game, pure and simple. We're going to do whatever Mike Beck says we're going to vote against. We know how that's played. They play that game in Washington. The approval rating for Congress is about 6% playing that game. And that's what you're going to get here if you play it. Because you're not looking out after the town, you're looking after whatever we can do to get Beck out and get our new people in. Boy, we'll have control of the town. We'll determine who the city manager is. We'll determine who the...
Do you have a question, or are you just up here to ridicule people?
I'm allowed to talk for as long...
You're not allowed to ridicule while you're up here. You're up here to ask a question.
You can answer it, and I don't have to answer to you. You don't control what I say. This guy's in control of the meeting.
Yeah, and apparently he's not going to pick up the gavel if you're going to get up here and attack people.
I'll stand here and take whatever you got. But you're doing the wrong thing, and it's wrong-headed, and it's petty, and it's going to come back and haunt you.
Let me,
So,
okay, thank you.
Please take that into consideration.
Thank you. You know, now, I'm going to put one of my people on the spot. And it is obvious that I fronted the police building. You know, I put 25 years as a police officer. I understand the impact that having that police station at the airport has, how much it's hurt this town. But I knew that if I fronted this, that I would have a problem getting anywhere with this. And I'll ask the manager if he recollects a conversation a couple of months ago, and what did I say to you? In reference to me being the point person with the police station.
That if you're out front, it's not going to go anywhere.
And that's why I wasn't sitting here doing the job that I asked him to do. Because if and that's correct what that gentleman just said. I feel that if my name's attached to something, that I'm going to have people voting against it up here just because of that. And I'll go back to the mayor's advisory board if I need to bring that up.
You can bring up whatever you want.
And I
You can
will,
anyway.
and I will. And how that was gutted, and I would ask the question, where is what the board that replaced it is in the Gobi Desert somewhere?
Yeah, that's where you killed it.
Okay. And you know, not for anything, the mayor's advisory board was brought down and shattered simply because of the fact that you didn't want it to be out there and my name was attached to it. And they were doing great work, meeting every month and accomplishing a lot of things. And now we have a board that you pushed that hasn't met in 2 years. What's that got to do with the public
killed it
safety
over a
building?
year ago.
Has to do with the opposition to what we're talking about. I didn't kill anything.
Okay, sorry.
All right. Next up, Mr. Sirocco.
Frank Sirocco to Villas. I got in my hand right here a report from the Township of Lower, presented or prepared by VHE Group Incorporated Custom Management Solutions, and is dated December
Of 04.
December 2004.
Yep.
Now, in this thing here is a chart, for just example, a chart here that says building expenses. Electric, this is 2001, electric, $50,761.71. Natural gas, $19,770.45, and so forth and so on, for a total of, just to heat this building, with the utilities in it, comes to $116,565.21. And whoopee. And as far as the public safety building and the committee that was there, Eric, you were involved in it. And how many meetings did you attend? Thank you.
Most of them. Yes, I did. I'm going to check on that.
I can check on it, and I will.
Okay.
I'll bite my tongue. Go ahead, John.
John Lauterbach, Tranquility Park. I was a member of the Public Safety Building Committee.
Yes.
To stick to the point, because there's a lot I could say but won't, to stick to the point as far as whether this should go to a non-binding referendum or not, you have a remote police station, you have no bus service to the police station, you have astronomical utility bills, you have a myriad of bathrooms with a lack of handicap accessibility and so forth, which would cost a god-awful amount of money to actually retrofit those. You would have to gut the whole half side of the building, even if the township or the county was going to take the other half of the building back. You would spend millions, that is undeniable. And it's not that there weren't other buildings considered, there just wasn't a better option, is what that amounted to. But the bottom line is you cannot put that in a referendum, can you? All you can do is muddy up the waters and misrepresent things. Thank you.
Yes, young lady.
My name's Bay Summers. I'm from Atlantic Avenue in the Villas. I'm going to get in trouble for this. But Tom, anything Mike does, what they're saying is true. You're against them. It's political. Wait a minute. Don't answer me. You know what they did to me to get back at a member of my family.
What did I do?
Not you. I said you know what they did to me to get back at a member of my family. And they're doing the same thing to Mike Beck. They're still torturing one member of my family. And he better get off her case. One of the guys just got warning that will destroy this town if he gets in.
All I got to say is it's amazing how if I agree with the mayor, everything's fine. If I disagree at any point, it's political. I've disagreed with him since 1997 on things, and we've got along for the most part.
Tom, how many times have I asked you what the $65 is for the rescue squad? You get 4 free rides. We don't talk about that.
We're on something different here, Betty. Thank you. Somebody else wish to address council? Yes, sir. Furby.
Good evening, council. John Walker, 116 West Pacific Avenue, Villas, New Jersey. Tom, as a member of your ward, I'm just outright disappointed. Disappointed.
I feel
apparently, Tom, you can speak whatever you want when I'm done. Apparently, you don't live in the same ward I live in. Apparently, you don't know what's going on in the villas like I do. You're not up to date on the burglaries, the car break-ins, the house break-ins, the heroin epidemic, and all we're asking, and you as the leader of our ward, you should be in front of this charge, bringing the police escorts and the cars right next door, because we need police presence. We need it badly. I moved here 14 years ago, and I thought this was heaven. Right now, it's deja vu where I left. Drive up and down Bayshore Road every day and see what's going on. Smell the roses, Tom. See what's happening. You got to take leadership, because the last 8 years I haven't seen you do anything.
Thank you.
Thank you for your political speech tonight. I do drive in the Villas. It's a beautiful place. I've been in other parts of the country. If you don't like it, don't know what to tell you. I'm for getting more police on the street. I'm for a lot of different things. I've taken leadership. You're going to pick out the little things? Fine. Go ahead. And thank you again for your political speech. Have a nice day.
Okay, who else wishes to address council? Close the public portion. Oh, wait, somebody raised their hand?
Go ahead.
Oh, that's gentleman in the back. I can't see him. Sorry.
Glenn Douglas, North Cape May. I was part of the council that we were involved with looking into this. I was not part of the committee, but the report that came back from the committee was to move forward. And I think as far as looking for a referendum, I don't think that's the answer right now. We need to move forward. Maybe the freeholders' option of taking over that building, maybe that's something that we can look at so we don't have to demolish the building and pay the cost or whatever. Maybe that, it can be some meetings going on and we can work on transferring that building over to the county. But the reports that came back from committee, the information, bringing the police department here. The police department was here before when the rec was built here. The school was added at a later point. But it is a good thing to have the police department close by. There's been a lot of issues that happen at the schools. So having a police department, nearby, you're going to have cops in and out constantly. Yes, they're on patrol, but they're in and out of that building, so they're close by. Courts were here years ago. They were right in this room. We're just putting it all back where it was. And I'm all for moving that back to this area. But I also think that we be constructive, okay? Councilman Simonson came up with something. Be constructive with that. It looks like the homework was done at the last minute, or this information came on at the last minute. You need to move forward on moving this to a new building here at the Villas location. Your services will be here all in one. And then continue to look into that option to have the county take that building over. And maybe the township could come out smelling the roses also.
Yeah,
there's a good possibility that could happen.
I mean, even with the steel on the roof of that building, at one point the architect said that if it had to come down, the steel could be recycled. That would basically make it a wash, that we could pay for the demolition using the steel. I don't know if that still stands. That was 2 years ago, but
also, would that bring your fire, you would talk about bringing fire safety. It would bring the services right here. Everything would be.
I got that. Yeah, I appreciate it.
The fear of a referendum is the public probably vote it down en masse, and that's can't happen. Okay, go ahead.
Well, I think that what you have is, again, something that was delivered at the last minute.
I'm not talking about the stuff that was delivered, I'm just talking about the whole thing.
And that's not a fair referendum. We did public, you know, open public access. We did the whole thing with people. We had the committee. How many times has it been discussed here in council?
And where's my position changed?
You know?
So you're surprised? Okay.
I'm not sure what you're saying. Your position
I've been
changed?
asked the same spot the whole time, asking certain questions, and I've been blown off on it, but now you're surprised that I'm
You know
still in the
what?
same spot.
If after 2 years I didn't have my questions answered, I would move at council to have the manager fired. I mean, I'll be quite honest with you. That's all I hear is I have questions.
I didn't
have
want the
questions.
thing in the first.
Make decisions. Don't abstain. Make a decision.
I'm not abstaining.
All right?
I know exactly where I'm at.
Okay, and that's the best part. You'll get your referendum. It's called an election in November.
Yep.
Okay,
Someone
that's
will.
not a problem. Okay, so anybody else in public wish to comment? Close the public portion. Somebody want to make a motion?
I make a motion.
I'll second.
Councilmember Conrad?
Yep.
Councilmember Neville?
No.
Councilmember Simonson?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Clark?
No.
Mayor Beck?
No.
Ordinance number 2014-08, bond ordinance authorizing the assumption of responsibility for and payments of the Lower Township Municipal Utilities Authority outstanding debt in a principal amount not to exceed $17,873,521 by the Township of Lower, County of Cape May, State of New Jersey, making certain determinations and covenants, and authorizing certain related actions in connection with the foregoing. This is the first reading of this ordinance. The second reading and public hearing will be scheduled after approval, if they receive approval from the local finance board, which we assume will be the second meeting in July.
Okay, council comments. All right. Manager, I have a series of questions.
Well, I just think out of all fairness to, I guess it was Tom Frazzoli, or somebody said that, where did he get his information from? He got the information from the MUA, the board and the administration down there, all the facts and figures. So Bob, maybe you want to explain your qualifications, talk about the $1 million that was questioned as we get into this subject. I want to clarify, in no way at any time, any of the 5 councilmen, when they asked me to investigate this, said to look into privatization. That's not even on the table. It's to take over, disband the MUA, and incorporate it into good government here in the township.
Okay, so in the papers, you hear that. There is nobody who supports privatization. So it will remain a township department. Okay, that's important because you just like in other areas, we hear rumors, people saying things. We will not sell the MUA. That's not part of the game. Not going to bring in outside agencies or any of that.
Could Mr. Schwartz give his qualifications and explain again for the public and answer any and all questions? Because it's been questioned by me, by the clerk, about the $1 million savings or more or less, and he can stand on his own 2 feet with his impeccable qualifications and background to let everybody here tonight, any questions about the dollar amounts, he can answer them. And I want to make sure the council can make an intelligent decision as they move forward to make sure that they have all the information and all their questions answered. I think we have an obligation to do that. Can you do that for me, Mr. Schwartz?
I can, thank you. First, I want to be very clear about one thing. The mission that I was given was not to be a proponent for the dissolution of the authority, and I am not serving as a proponent of this governing body. My mission was to do one thing. That was to look at the data that I was provided, primarily data that was requested from the utility authority by Open Public Records Act requests that were made by the township, and other documents that were available, such as the official statement that the utility authority had on a refunding issue. This was purely a clerical function that I performed. And in performing it, I addressed it in several ways. I took the budgets that were adopted by the utility authority for 2014, they adopted two separate budgets, a water budget and a sewer budget. I took the numbers that were in those budgets, and I received from the authority a listing of all of their employees and the salaries that they made. I then was provided by the township, after the township had done an analysis of what positions, and I would want to be very careful, I will not mention specifics, but what positions would be redundant if the authority was merged in with the township. Using that information and using the information that was included in the salary information I was provided and the budgets, it was a rather simple procedure that I performed, and I did it in a very conservative method. I only used numbers that I could find support for in saying that there would be a savings. The major component of the savings, which was somewhere in the neighborhood of $650,000, is in the administrative area. The reason that there are such significant savings in the administrative area is that the authority has in their budget a certain dollar amount for salaries and wages, which totaled $389,000. That included clerical personnel, it included an executive director, and there are other amounts in there that I could not identify when I added up the administrative component of the salaries that I was given. That's $389,000 that I would contend is a savings overall to the users of the system and to the township if the authority was dissolved. At the same time, there are fringe benefits that go along with those salaries, and I took $55,000 as an amount that I used as a savings based on the $389,000. I did not touch health benefits. I only took off an amount that would be for pension system and Social Security. Didn't touch unemployment, didn't touch anything else in the benefit area. In the other expenses for the authority in the budget and also based on contracts that I was provided, I found that there was a contract for financial administration with an amount not to exceed $110,000. I can agree that likely $110,000 probably would not have been spent or will not be spent in 2014 on that finance, but since it's in the budget, that's the basis for the rate calculation that is used for the authority. So I took that full amount out, and I'll explain in a second the logic there, but I took that full amount out. In addition, there was a contract for $71,673 for the billing and collection for the authority. I took that full amount out also. And the logic in taking those amounts out is that I was provided assurance by the finance department and by the township manager that these functions could be absorbed by the present employees within the township. The administrative component for the management of the utility fund, the finance department for the record keeping, if I can call it that, the financial component of it, and the tax department for the collections. Public Works would be involved in doing meter readings and gathering the components that are necessary to do the billing. The total of those numbers is approximately $650,000. Now, it could be validly argued, and I don't say that it can't be, because whenever you do this type of an analysis, I'm not playing with exactness. I can't, because there's just too many variables in play. But I am certainly playing with big chunks that I think, are fairly obvious. Will there be some additional salary adjustments within the management and the finance and tax departments of the township? I believe that there probably will. Can I give you an estimate of what they are? No, and that was not what I was charged to do. That is something that is the responsibility of the township to come up with those numbers. But I feel very safe in saying that it will be far less than $650,000. In the operations component of the budget, there were certain positions that were identified where personnel were retiring, and there were certain positions that were identified that would be redundant. And the reason that they would be redundant is that the combination of the employees that would be retained from the authority and the existing staff or members of the Public Works Department would be able to jointly handle these categories. And therefore, based on the numbers that I was provided, that resulted in a savings of about $292,000. In addition, of course, there were fringe benefits that were related to that. Again, I'll be very candid and straightforward and say, what if I'm off by $100,000? What if I'm off by $150,000? We're still talking real money of savings. There are the areas that I came up with that came up to actually, it was $991,126, which I rounded to $1 million because there are other I did miss two significant components that I included. One is audit costs. Presently, the utility authority has a separate audit, and I don't know the exact fee off the top of my head, but I think it's somewhere in the $35,000 to $38,000 range. When a utility fund is a component of an entity, there are much less cost for auditing in doing that. In addition, as a utility in the state of New Jersey, a utility authority is required to report under what is called GAAP, or Generally Accepted Accounting Principles. A municipality reports under the regulatory basis of accounting. There is much less detail involved in the financial statements for a regulatory basis utility fund than there is for a GAAP basis utility authority. Financial statements for a utility authority are very detailed and very intricate. They're very straightforward under the regulatory basis. That, and again, the number could be off by $5,000 either way, but I estimated a savings of about $15,000 in audit fees. The solicitor analyzed the billable rates and the meeting requirements that were in place for the attorney for both the authority and what those type of requirements would be if it were a utility fund, which would not have separate meetings. The governing body would be responsible for being in charge of the utility fund, so that there would not be a duplication of legal fees. The attorney would be one attorney, a savings there. I made no attempt to quantify because I was doing a preliminary analysis to provide information to the governing body for the governing body to make the determination of whether or not it was feasible to move forward with the application for the dissolution. I felt that $1 million was a sufficient dollar level to allow you to at least discuss and make a decision. The other areas that I did not quantify, when a utility authority wants to do any type of borrowing, any funding at all, it's required to go to the local finance board and make an application for that borrowing. That's an expensive process. As a utility fund, you, as the governing body, are charged with the responsibility of introducing a bond ordinance. It's as, I don't want to downplay it and say it's as simple as that, but it's a lot less complicated. It allows you, as a governing body operating as with a utility fund and a public works department, to gain economy of scale in your purchasing of equipment, to cross over the usage of the equipment. I can't quantify how much of a savings that would be, but I would contend that there's a savings in that. You have a separate property that is presently used by the utility authority, and my understanding is that if it goes through, the plan would be to utilize that property for public works operations. That would free up some other property for you to do some cleanup and perhaps convert it either to another township use or to sell that property and put it back on the tax-paying rolls. So in a brief recap, I wasn't looking for precision in what I was doing. I was looking for the big chunks to provide the governing body with sufficient information. And Mr. Vole, I apologize. The first thing that you asked me to do was to say what my qualifications were. And I did bring this up at the last meeting, but I'll briefly reiterate them. I am a CPA, I am an RMA, and I have been working with utility authorities and municipalities in the state of New Jersey for longer than I want to remember. I have a lot of familiarity with the operations, both of the regulatory basis and the gap basis. Matter of fact, my little booklet that I have here is the result of me serving on a national committee for the National GFOA in reviewing for the Certificate of Excellence in Financial Reporting for governmental entities that report under GAAP, which Lower Township, you do not report under GAAP, you report under the regulatory basis. But the utility authority does. So I do have that familiarity. I do not have familiarity with Lower Township. I have never been involved in your audit. I've never been involved in the utility authority audit. My only, and I heard Wildwood brought up several times earlier, that is my only relationship that I have had in Cape May County in my entire career, and that was only for the past 2 years that I served as the auditor for Wildwood. So I was raised in Ocean City, but I've not been an auditor in Cape May County, so I don't have a lot of that familiarity, which is one of the reasons why Mr. Costello did request that I take a look at this, because I don't have that background. I was looking at it with a fresh eye. I think I've jabbered enough. Be willing to answer any questions anybody might have.
Thank you, Mr. Schwartz. I'm glad you're here tonight. Council has a very important decision to make, what they feel is in the best interest of the township. I know Commissioner Frizzoli said he wanted to question some of the finance report. Mayor, Council, maybe he can answer some of the questions from the MUA's perspective.
Well, I have one or two questions that for instance, we've already talked about the assumption of debt, and we already talked about the fact that we're not privatizing, and I just want to clear up any rumors or anything that's out there. The money...
Talk into the mic closer, Mayor.
Okay. The money that comes in for the water and sewer side will not in any way be mingled, and Lauren, you probably got to help me with this. It will not be in any way, shape, or form be used to pay the township's bills. So ratepayers and taxpayers will have separate accounts, and there will be absolutely no commingling.
Not at all. No, they'd be completely separate funds.
Okay. The only benefit that comes, and they're separate funds, but there is, as it exists now, a shared service. and shared services, probably a question for the manager, which is to reiterate some of the benefits of having the workforces integrated within the township. We talked about, say, snow removal.
Many things, and Tom Conrad's brought up a good project in the past, and that's Roseanne Avenue. I mean, if indeed council decides to incorporate the MUA into our township government, and Mr. Douglas has that task, they'll be working in concert together with the utilities that are in the road, and that'll be charged against the sewer water utility account. The other road being restoring the road and all, if it was a Roseanne Avenue, be charged to the public works, our regular general account. So there's many, many reasons to go that way.
Okay. Now, go ahead. And when council's done, then if you want to have Mr. Frisoli come up, you can. But Tom, do you have questions?
No, my question's been answered, so I know where I'm at. The question is, you want to let Mr. Frisoli speak. I got a legal question. Can he do that as an MUA commissioner here tonight?
He doesn't seem to have had a hesitation on prior occasions.
Now we're, now we're actually letting him speak to the legal side.
He is a member of the public.
Okay.
He can come up and talk, and whether or not he's under any type of ethical obligation as a board member, I leave that to him, I leave that to the board, and I leave that to their board
Okay,
solicitor.
fair enough. I just want to make sure we're okay to allow him.
Any questions? Eric, you have any questions? Norris?
Yeah, I have some questions. Someone asked a really good question last meeting, and that is when there is, first off, all this money that we're talking about saving goes into an account that doesn't commingle, doesn't get involved with the township. So over the course of time, it delays rate increases, right? The need to increase the rates for the MUA. Is that correct?
That would be correct, yes.
Okay. So when it comes time to raise, maybe someone thinks that the rates need to be raised, how does that get done? That was a question that one of our citizens had. How are rates raised when the municipality is?
I'll respond, but I'll hedge when I'm responding, because I do think that is more of a legal question, but my understanding is that it would be done by an ordinance of the governing body with proper advertising and public hearing, but it would be the governing body that would do that. You would not have to go to the Bureau of Public Utilities or anything of that nature for your rates.
Is that the way you see it, sir?
Councilman, that's correct. Currently, the MUA adjusts rates by way of resolution. We've seen those resolutions are posted online, in fact. Our ordinance, which creates the Division of Water Utility in the Department of Public Works, has the rate schedule incorporated into it. It does not change. It's the same rate schedule. To amend that, it is in an ordinance. It would therefore have to go through the ordinance procedure, which we all know is an introduction and subsequent adoption and a public hearing as well. And I'll just add one more thing. There is also embedded in that ordinance a provision that requires or prohibits expenditure of any funds derived from the utility source to be spent on utility matters. So we did put that in there as an extra precaution. It's the highest level of precaution that we could add as a municipal government. And to change that, of course, would also be subject to the ordinance procedure if council just simply couldn't, by way of resolution, on occasion, to use Mr. Schwartz's terminology, raid the fund, which is, I understand, one of the motivations municipalities have in dissolving these utilities, but that's not in play here. I was asked to put that precaution in there, and that is in there. So any desire to expend utility funds on anything but utility matters would have to come through the ordinance process and be subject to a public hearing.
So basically, anytime anyone wanted to raise rates, they would have to come before elected officials who have to answer to the public comment in open public meetings on videotape as to why or why not they would want to raise rates, as opposed to now it's unelected people making the decision about whether to raise the rates. Is that correct?
If you're referring to unelected people as being the board members, that's correct. They're not elected. They're appointed by this council, and as this council's learned, it really doesn't have too much control over those board members. It can only appoint, and there's an appointment once a year.
Thank you.
Do we get, and I'd ask the clerk and the manager, do we get the minutes and do we get the resolutions and all that from the MUA?
No, I think
Why not?
clerk can respond to that probably in more detail. I understand there are some agendas and minutes posted on the website. They're incomplete. We've made several requests. I've made a request. I've sent a letter to their solicitor. I've also sent an email, and I sent a follow-up email requesting the agendas and also the minutes. And to the extent that they can provide any minutes of closed session meetings that occurred. And we haven't, Julie.
We have received the agendas, but that's all that we've received. If you go online, you'll find one from 2013.
What, the agendas?
The agendas, yeah.
Don't they have to have their stuff online like we do?
I analogize these authorities to, and the way they've been described by the courts is they're an independent governmental entity. So it's a good way to think of them as just another government. And the laws that govern this council in terms of contracts, open public meetings are the same laws that govern their activities as well.
So we truly don't know what they're doing.
We can only ask, Mayor.
This is like...
We've requested information time and time again, and most of the times we get turned down, and we're following through on some things, but...
I mean, I read in the paper where money was put into their legal fund or their solicitor or something like that, but there's no way we can find out where that's coming from or who's doing what, right?
Well, as a governmental entity, we are required to post all of our resolutions and our ordinances and our minutes online, and that's what we do. And that was a conversation we were having, is that if they're a governmental entity, they should be required to do the same thing, so we don't, I mean, all our stuff is, you know, all their OPA requests that we've received from them, our response has been, it's available online, it's available online, it's available online, because all our stuff is online.
Our stuff is online. Yeah. All right, I don't know how we got on.
So we're making it a requirement of this ordinance that we could never take their money, that we would keep the funds separate and we would not rate it in order to lower taxes. Like we know some elected officials want to do that. They want to go to the MUA and they want to take the money in order to not have to raise their taxes. We won't be allowed to do that.
Not without amending the ordinance.
One thing we could do, though, is the roads that they ripped up and did not fix right, that they put out to bid, I believe they rejected the bids because it was over the engineer's estimate. So we're still stuck with bumpy roads on Bay Drive, all throughout Town Bank, down Wildwood. That would be part of the utility budget, right?
Well, that would come under the purview of the manager and operations, and I think the manager can answer that question.
Well, I mean, it's just so much duplication, and where there will be money taken from the utility portion, and the township will be an example when you have the engineer. Okay, if the engineer is working on a sewer and water project, that part of his salary will come out of the utility fund, and vice versa if it's a public works. The township attorney, if he's working on a sewer. So funds will come out of there that rightfully deserve to be paid out of that. But overall, it's going to keep the expense down because we're not duplicating. We don't have 2 engineers, one for the MUA and one for the township. We don't have 2 bond counsels, 2 auditors, 2 attorneys. The portions like what the attorney would do that deals with the utility fund would be taken out of the utility fund to pay. So the taxpayers are going to save too because they're getting a double bang for their buck out of one person. We don't have to farm out a CFO to Vineland, New Jersey for $100 and some thousand. We have a very competent, one of the finest CFOs in the county in Lawrence. She's very frugal. She does an excellent job. You know, we don't have to have an executive director and duplicate that process and all the benefits for him and a vehicle and et cetera. And we know that's what's went on. We know that people came here, some of the board members asking this council to investigate. Employees coming here asking to look at this MUA. There's problems down there. The county prosecutor's office investigation still's going on. As you know and I know, that could go on for 6 more months. We don't know when that's going to, and we don't know what their findings are. But it goes on and on. I can assure you one thing, you have good blue-collar workers down there that do a good job. They just need a leader, and they need an employer that's going to take care of them. And as referred to the mayor about nobody losing their jobs, that's not the intent. It's just to make it more effective and more efficient for the users and the taxpayers, and they will be the winners.
Yeah, and I guess, like I said, I guess everybody on council has their threshold. But your point's well taken. If it's not $1 million, but it's only $850,000, would you sit back and say, oh, well, no, I'm not going to do it now? You have to be kidding. I mean, that's my feeling. That's my feeling. And I mean, you know, there was a threshold, I think I said early on, that if it didn't reach a certain level, then I would say, well, we tinker with it, we try and do shared service. No, this is like game, set, match when we hit this level, when you're at that size. Is there any other council questions or you wanted to, we're going to go to the public comment.
Well, I just thought out of all fairness that one of the commissioners, Tom Frisoli, said he wanted to challenge some of the numbers, and I thought he should have this fair play. Mr. Frisoli?
First reading, the public comments, the next one.
Oh. Well, he wanted to come up, so I don't have a problem with it.
Okay, go ahead.
If you do,
No, I don't want to hold on.
Yeah. Well, we're just going to get them anyway at the public portion.
What you came out with in general, and this is basically all this stuff.
Tom, can you explain it to, you have to go to microphone and read out what your problems or your.
Excuse me, I should mention that the document here does have specific names on it, and I don't think you want to.
Okay. Oh, they're the names of employees. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I see a couple of names on here. Yeah,
all right.
so
well, then we can't read names.
I just gave him that. No,
that's fine.
That's why
I
gave
appreciate
it. He gave a general thing, and I have no problem with that.
Yep.
Right.
But I wanted to make sure that what he really got
Excuse me, guys.
was what I'm giving him now. That's all. Am I correct?
Okay.
Yes, no, that's
Now,
fine.
another thing is,
Mayor,
Yeah, go ahead.
for
I wanna give you-
the records, could the gentleman identify himself?
Yeah, give your name.
I'm sorry,
You forgot to give your name, Tom. Would you give the
Tom
camera?
Frisoli, and I'm a member of the MUA for the
Okay.
Township.
But do not read anybody's name out.
Just-
I didn't know. I don't have their name.
Okay.
This is the numbers. If I can give you that, please. We have monthly meetings, and when we have an agenda, and we have people out there who have questions and concerns, we don't hesitate to answer them and show them and tell them what's going on. And
Well, can you
the
get us
same
all?
goes for you guys.
Can you
If
get us all the
need
minutes?
information, just let me know. Like,
Sure, we do. We'd
I
like to
have
get
all
all
this
the minutes.
information that would help you out if you would only come and ask.
I'm asking.
But we
You can have it.
filed OPA requests.
I'm asking. We would like to get all your minutes.
I'm going to work on that, I promise.
Oh, okay.
In fact, if you want to be honest about it, you, Julie, can confirm this. I went to Julie a couple occasions and said, are you getting minutes from us? And your response was, sometimes we do, but most of the time we don't.
Not minutes, agendas.
We don't have any minutes.
Agendas.
We do.
So I'm saying, what about, you know?
Do we have any minutes?
No,
None at all. Okay, that's what,
Okay.
agenda's one thing. We would like to get the minutes of your meetings.
Let me see what I can, how far I can
Thank
go
you.
back, because unfortunately, and I disagree with what you stated about when I came to you, when Pete and I wanted to meet, it was only, we knew what some of our problems were, the concerns we were, and we wanted you to help us, that's all.
All right, Tom, you got to
I'm
get
not
to the
going
point.
into it. I'm not
You're
going
getting
into it.
help now, Tom.
We're getting off the track.
Okay, the bottom line is this. If you need any figures, we have them, and they're open, just like Mr. Schwartz has. And as far as minutes, I'll work on getting you minutes.
Okay,
Not
thank
a
you.
problem. And when I first came on board, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to speak, was there was concerns I had pertaining to what meetings were recorded and what meetings were not recorded. And I had concerns, and I shared that with everyone, and nothing was done.
Well, we don't have any minutes and you don't record
Oh, if
meetings.
I don't have them recorded, I guess there's certain things that I asked and I couldn't get from you guys.
I'm a lost soldier.
I know you are.
Do you record your closed session minutes?
We do now.
Okay.
We have for the last, I guess, 7 months maybe.
Last 7 months? Thank you.
Yeah, that's a fact, because I insisted we put them in, it was in the,
Can we get copies?
yes,
Okay.
if they're not closed. I mean, if they're closed, if they're open, until it resolves, it's just like here, you're not going to get anything.
Yeah.
But most of them we can give you. The bottom line is, when these people come to our meetings and they ask questions, we give them the answer. As far as your statement, Mr. Neville, about the roads and all and the paving, we did put them out for bid. And the prices came in, and if you would have called me, I would have shared that with you, Norris, really what it was. We have our own legal fee and fund, but the prices were so outrageous that we said, no, we're going to put them out again and try to get a better price, and we did it immediately because we want to get them done as fast as you want them done for the people. We want them done more so, and you can ask anybody who comes to the meetings how sincere we are about doing it.
How are we going to know that?
Yeah, but.
Well, the thing is,
It's sort of amazing.
certain people in the community, they come to everything because they care. And there's other people, when they have personal concerns, they come to us. And we do the best to address them as well.
Ultimately.
But you're not coming,
Tom,
so
I have
let me
one-
give
one
it you.
thing.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
Tom, I've come to a few of those meetings, and
Oh, how many did you come to, Jimmy?
2, 3 in the
Thank
last
you.
year.
That was when you, yeah, I'm not going to go into that.
And Tom, Clubhouse Road was put out approximately the same time, and those bids came back about 60,000 less than engineers estimate.
And the people from Clubhouse Road come in here, Tom. I can't go down there all the time to get answers for problems that come in here that truly belong down there.
So
we should be getting your agendas, we should be getting your minutes, and we should have access to information.
Well, I know if there's any information that you ever come to me, I've given access to.
Let me tell you something. Come on, guys. You've been pulling teeth trying to get information down there. I mean, not
Not
for
me.
anything.
Not
No,
for me.
these guys have.
We filed Uber requests.
Not for me, I mean,
No,
you-
not for
no.
you. We do it.
Anything they've come, since I've been on that board, you come and you get it, and you know that.
Yeah, but you can't even get them to answer the phone.
There you go.
The truth of the matter is I had to send a police officer down to check on their security one day because nobody will answer the telephones, not for the manager or for any rate user, payer, taxpayer, anybody. The governor could call, they wouldn't answer the phone. And that's a fact.
You know what?
It's true.
I'm done.
I got you.
I get the point. Have a
Thank
nice
you.
day.
Anybody else wish to address council? Yes, go ahead.
Mike, how you doing?
Hello, how are you? Name, please.
My name is Mark Johnson. I'm the water sewer supervisor for Lower Township MUA. Okay, and this is not the first time that council, a mayor wanted to take over. So I think we're up to number 4 now. This is the closest that we've ever been. Granted, it's been a circus at that place. Okay, it's been a circus by the guys you put in there. Okay. We have a guy.
What guys are you referring to?
I'm talking about our own council that can't get their act
You mean the
together.
board?
Yes.
Okay,
And I'm not
all right.
trying to be
But when you say the guys I put in there, I'm not sure who you mean.
What I mean is by the people that are running us.
All right.
And I'm not saying anything facetious about Tom, but it has been a mess. It has been a total mess down there. Matt Eckerd, we went through a lot with him, okay? And all these figures sound real dazzling about redundant jobs. I have 5 guys, 5 guys to take care of 10,000 customers, water lines, sewer lines, water leaks. Mike, we've been in front of your house. We did refurbish on your sewer. You know,
The sewer line down the block.
Exactly.
Not mine. You own it, not me.
You know what I mean, in front
I
of your
do.
house. We did the sewer.
Don't be
that-
thinking you're in my house doing plumbing if you keep.
What I'm trying to say is that redundant jobs is ridiculous. These jobs aren't jobs that just anybody walks in and does. If you have an operator out one day, or if you have a water repair out one day, and if you think you're going to get a trash man to come and help me pull pumps, that's not going to happen.
Mark, out of all due respect, we're not talking about redundant what you do. You guys do
We're
a
talking
great job.
administration.
We're talking about the administration where it's redundant.
Well, I
And this
have
is
to-
why the governor pushes to disband these shadow governments.
Well, it makes me worry because...
Well, you shouldn't have to worry.
I hope
You do a good job.
And I hope that this doesn't affect later on when you do eventually, and if it...
No.
but I
Let me
do voice an
just
opinion.
make a quick point. First off, the reason that the other ones stopped is look, my statement the first meeting was fight the number. It's not a question of like us wanting to do this to put you through any kind of pain. It has to do with the financial end of it. It's $1 million in savings. That is over here. You guys are here, and you are a major concern. We can't guarantee jobs. What we can guarantee is we'll be fair, and we'll make sure you guys are first in line. It's anticipated without saying it, because we can't do that legally.
Jimmy, Mark, listen, the guys that go down in their wet well, trust me, they're not going to be the guys coming off the back of a trash truck. The guys de-watering the sludge aren't going to be the guys that come off the back of a trash truck.
Okay.
And your guys that repair and pull the pumps, they're going to be most likely the same guys, because they have the expertise in the field that needs to get the job done. If it's a sewer department rather than MUA, the job still needs to get done. The effluent that goes out the pipe has to meet the permits. The sludge that you're sending up to the Cape May County MUA still wants to be just as dry as they want it, so that they can compost it, and we can make Cape Organic with it.
And I agree.
All those technical jobs are still going to be the same technical jobs, just under a sewer department.
But there's also talk about taking us and cutting us for what our salaries are, and
we don't even have that discussion.
And I understand that. I understand that.
That's not even something that we.
And once again, Mark, the expertise that it takes to go down into a confined space is not what it takes to empty a trash can on the back of a trash truck. That's understandable.
Well, you have to understand all the concerns.
Yeah. I do.
Around,
trust me, I do.
About being cut. We have to start at a new tier with our insurance company. Everybody has houses. Everybody has mortgages.
Well,
and
we appreciate your coming here. But
what are the rumors? What are the rumors? Because
every day
it's the redundancy is the administration. It's not the blue collar worker, you and your crew, and it's not you. You guys aren't the issue. Everybody knows what the issue is. And you guys came here to ask for help. And nobody's going to be without a job.
Now, I agree there's a lot of funky things that went on in the beginning when we brought in a subcontractor to read meters. Yeah, we've done that since the 70s. We've done that. We didn't need that to happen.
And we can go back to that.
Someone made that possible, and that's an expense that we can save. There's no doubt about it. But, I hope you guys realize that there is an importance for the guys that we have. We have 10,000 customers now. We all like to keep our job. This is the very first meeting I've ever voiced an opinion of, because now I'm beginning to be concerned about my job and where you see us in the future.
I understand that, and I think we all do.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, what are the rumors you're hearing, so maybe we can address them?
Well, it's just like any other.
I want you to be able to go home at night and sleep.
Well, you have to take them for what they're worth. Some you can believe, some you may not believe.
What are they?
From this person? Well, for instance, we were told that we're all going to be cut down to laborer's pay.
Not true.
Okay. Well, these are the rumors that happen, and everybody's rightly concerned about it. Right now, the morale down at that place is horrible. Okay, just to get people to come in, because we don't know what's going on from day to day. We don't know whether we're going to have a job or don't.
You'll actually, when you get to the township and become a department, after about a year, you're going to sit back and say, this was the best thing that happened to us.
Well, then we need change. I just hope
I agree with you. It's something that probably should have been done a long time ago. However, the impetus of looking into it generated the funds that can be saved. And we have a responsibility to ratepayers and taxpayers to move forward on that.
I understand.
Mark, what other rumors? I want to clarify whatever rumors.
Well, I'm sure, Mike, at some point we could meet, and I can't remember all of them at the time. They change from day to day.
Feel free to come in.
Well, then obviously they're not true if they change day to day. But if you ask me a question, you'll get an honest answer.
Okay. At some point, maybe I can stop in. And Mike, like
Feel
I said,
free.
I'll see you.
I know. Come on in. Come on in.
Okay.
It's not something that, the last thing in this world that I think anybody up here, and we can all agree on this, is to take a job from somebody.
And Mark, listen, the permit to discharge is not going to change when the township takes it over. So the importance of operating the plant is not going to be lost on this council. Trust me.
The last thing we want to do is disrupt service. That's the last thing we want to do.
Do you remember the New Jersey Water Environment Association?
Yes.
We're not going to let you down.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to address council? Yes, ma'am.
Good Good evening, gentlemen. Jackie Henderson, Mickles Run. I know talking about the most important aspect, I guess, that people care about, not just savings, is obviously people's jobs. And I know that obviously some of these jobs are very specialized where you have to have the licenses and permits. How about the people who don't have that, who may be general laborers, the people that work in the office that may have more general skills? I know that, you know, with the talk of some of the redundancies I didn't know if that applied to, you know, the actual, the women who work in the office. If the billing is going to be handled by the township, it's like, what jobs are precious here?
Well, the jobs are precious, okay? You said that right. They're down, I think, one office worker.
Okay.
I understand the office manager is retiring and supposed to be leaving. That office worker, I'm sure, will be retained. We're going to need a transition. We're going to need that intelligence from that office. The blue-collar workers, the office workers, shouldn't be considered. It's my honest opinion. I'm telling you the truth. It's the administration that the problem was, that the appeal to this council was about all this nonsense that was going on.
Yes,
and it was
it's
finally being brought to an end.
Yeah, just looking out for the little guy and little girl.
I'm with you.
Anybody else wish to address council? Close the public portion. Where are we at? Motion to approve, right? Okay. Motion to approve 2014-08.
I move.
Go ahead.
I'll second it.
Councilmember Conrad?
No.
Councilmember Neville?
Yes.
Councilmember Simonson?
Nope.
Deputy Mayor Clark?
Yes.
Mayor Beck?
Yes. Okay, move down to administrative reports. We don't have anything else left, do we, Jewel?
That's it.
I'm losing
Agenda.
track of papers. Okay, council comments. Councilman Conrad.
Real quick, there's a couple things in the Herald that are very important. The first was actually why I signed up for the reserves years ago. Our assemblyman is proposing a bill permitting in-state tuition rates for vets at state colleges. I think we should do a resolution to support that at the next meeting. I'll pass it down for you to review.
Resolution to support what?
Support bill, Assembly Bill A2622.
All right. I know
To give vets in-state tuition whether they live in the state or not.
I'll be there.
Mr. Walker brought up about the heroin. There's also a bipartisan legislation to toughen the penalties for heroin-related crimes for those that deal. That would be Assembly Bill 2831 with /A783.
Resolution to support that?
Yes. I'll hand you the stuff so it makes it easier.
Perfect, thank you.
And the last one, there's an Assembly bill, but I don't, oh, please.
No,
Thank you for staying for
Thank
so
you.
long, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schwartz.
You get overtime for this, right? Yeah, right. All right, sorry. Sorry for asking.
Very informative, very interesting.
Yeah, well, go home and think about it. Go ahead, Tom.
Thank you,
That's okay.
Alexis.
I'm giving him a second. The last bill, no, I didn't give him a second.
I can't find the Independence Day.
April 3rd.
Well,
Or June 3rd. July. I got, I'm thinking A's. Karen, you ready? I'll give you
The
the
last
bill.
bill, she'll write it down.
Yeah. The last bill is Bill A2299. It's in the Assembly to promote home accessibility for disabled vets. Why wait for the Assembly? We as a township could do that. What it does is it removes the permit fees for any disabled vet for a house that he's moving in or owns to make it ADA compliant for them to move in. We don't need to wait for the Assembly. We could do that ourselves.
We just have to change the ordinance.
We just have to change the ordinance. Other than that, I believe that's what I have for now. Jim?
Well, I guess this is the last meeting before the 4th of July, so the July 3rd fireworks?
Yes.
On my birthday.
I lost the paper.
Everybody come down and have a good time. And the only thing I want to bring up is on a positive note was the Atlantic City Press had an article that was very important for the school funding. And Chris Kobick was quoted in there a couple times. Oradell, and I think the name of the other town was Riverbend, trying to do the same thing Cape May is trying to do in here and get in and out of paying their fair share due to what the property valuation is. and it was shot down, so that, and the same attorney that's representing us, and the same attorney that's representing Cape May was in the whole decision there. So it's a win for, it's a win for the way it is. And they told them, go to the legislature. If you want the funding formula changed, it's a legislative issue. So that's a win for Lower.
Yes, it is.
That's all I have.
Nice. I am in total agreement with you.
Amen. Just, anyone that was there at the Escape the Cape last week, wanted to, it was great to see all the volunteers. That function cannot happen without the volunteers. I know many of the school children came out to volunteer, which was great. Also, members of the Boy Scouts were there. Members of our Team Tiger Boys and Tigers Have Tolerance groups were there, manning water stations and all kinds of stuff. It was a great event, and I just want to make sure we make the point that the township does not pay any portion of that. That is all paid into by Delmo Sports, and it brings a lot of people down. Generates a lot of revenue for our area. Saturday, I want to thank everyone who came out to the Knights of Columbus. It was a great day for the Kids Rock Music Festival. We performed there and raised lots of money for needy kids in the township. All that money goes to, it stays in Lower Township. Dan Gilliam and the Knights of Columbus, it's the second annual, so it's grown since last year. And I know they're looking to even expand it again next year. Also, there was the runway 5K to raise money for the Air Station Wildwood. Was a big success. Again, this is second annual. I know the mayor was there, and I participated in that. And it was a busy weekend. Last but not least, yesterday, spent the day with an inspirational day doing Life Rolls On, where you help spinal cord injury, those with spinal cord injuries and special needs surf for the day. And it's a pretty neat experience. If you haven't experienced it, I highly recommend volunteering or just coming out and watching in the future. That's it for me.
Well, guys, I'm still stunned by what just happened, and I have to say a word about it because you're good guys. So I have to figure out in my own brain how you can make such a bad decision as you did tonight by voting against this. We ask the manager to look into it. The manager goes out and gets the same auditing firm that audits the MUA, audits the township, who lives with this all the time. He is a professional. He comes back with a really, really big number and says, okay, maybe we're off by 100,000, but it's still a really, really big number. And it's still something that will save and defray tax and ratepayer increases for years to come. We've said we're going to put the money into a separate account, not commingle it. We're going to put that as part of our rule. And we are going to then put ourselves up in the light of day, out of the shadow of this MUA, which they're saying is a mess. By their own account, it's a mess. We're going to take it, and they're not keeping minutes. We're going to bring all the discussion into the light of day, and if we ever wanted to get around to raising the rates, we'd have to vote on it and face people that elected us, which is far better for the taxpayers, far better. One of the reasons that the politicians wanted to put these MUAs off as separate authorities is they don't have to do that. They don't have to answer to the public. And the other thing the politicians want to do is be able to raid the MUA when they want to do the smoke and mirrors in order not to raise taxes. And we said we're not going to do that. So, I mean, this is what we were elected to do. It doesn't get any plainer than this. You know, Forrest Gump would understand that this is clearly what we need to do. And yet, without saying a word, without asking any more questions, you vote against it. The only explanation, gentlemen, why good people like yourselves can make such a bad decision is because politics. I don't understand any other way. Why you would, but please, I mean, this is just do it for the people. Just do it for the people. Let the money savings go into an account that's going to defray rate increases for years to come for our ratepayers. Let that happen. And let these workers that are not having good leadership over there be able to come work with us under one roof. I mean, it just is the plainest thing in the world. I'm just stunned. And I hope someday you'll explain to me why good gentlemen like yourselves can make such a bad decision as you did tonight. But it's bad for our citizens. It's bad for the ratepayers.
Okay.
That's all.
Independence Day Festival and Fireworks, July 3rd. Festival begins at 5, fireworks around 9, between Lincoln and Emerson Avenue. You got band locations. You've got the Banana Trio at Franklin Street, the Lima Bean Riot at Holmes Avenue, and the Thirsty Wilson at Roslyn Avenue. Whatever happened to the Turtles, Beatles, things like that? All right, so that's it. We now have the call to the public. If you
Whale of a Day, too.
Oh, Whale of a Day.
Whale of a Day is Friday, or I mean, I'm sorry, Saturday, July 5th, and it's at the property owners.
I don't have that with me.
Yeah, no, I forgot about that, because the meeting is until the, it's Saturday the 5th.
I believe the following Saturday.
Oh, I don't know.
No, it's Saturday the 5th.
The 5th is a Saturday.
Yep, they're having their meeting tonight, right now.
Right, July 4th is a Friday.
Yep, and it'll be a Clubhouse Drive. It'll close off between Town Bank and Elwood. Yeah, it's past to Elwood, and that's a full day of vendors and food and face painting and baskets that you can take 50/50s on, and that helps support 3 scholarships. One for Wildwood Catholic, one for Lower Cape May Regional High School, and one for the VOTEC. And they have to be somebody from Lower Township.
Very good. Call to the public. If you wish to address the council, step forward. Mr. Ed? Show, what do you have?
Well, my issue is dust on a road. We have a problem.
No, you got a lady sitting there, Ed.
You got Lauren
right there. You got Lauren
We
sitting there.
all day long on Railroad Avenue.
Ed, that's probably
You just
like.
got it
not
all over our
much.
CFO.
Yeah, you're burying the poor
Our
lady.
house looks like that. This is off of Railroad Avenue, comes off the Township Road.
Yeah.
Right on the edge.
Lauren,
It's gonna be
please,
out in the road.
please move.
Flows northeast,
I
northwest,
apologize.
southwest, and it comes all over the property. We've been talking to people, but we'd now like to get somebody to address it. Just fix it. The county doesn't like it, the township doesn't like it. Everybody points fingers, we go around, we talk. Fix it. I know for a fact, if somebody in the building trades were building the building and got it wrong, they take it and make it, tear it down, because that's what would happen. This road is just there, the dust road,
there's
they
been
put
a-
water on there in the morning.
I'm all for this issue, Ed. Who's the road belong to?
That's questionable. I've been trying,
That's the issue.
Mr. Worker, you know.
I know, but
Now, listen,
I just brought it to a point here.
yeah, okay, they understand. You did the dust in the hallway the other day, too. I've been trying to convene a meeting. I briefed the solicitor on it this morning. The other party that's involved is the Ewens. It's the mining outfit that goes down that road. To get you all at the table, to work it out, to get that road paved, to work out whatever issues you have between the two parties. I've been researching with the clerk if we have any documentation that's signed of an agreement that people talk about that was agreed upon years ago. To date, we haven't found it. I've tasked Gary Playford to convene, to get all the parties together for me, and the solicitor, and your solicitor, whoever. It's got to come to an end. I had Frank McCall in my office this morning about the debris that's going out onto the roadway, the county road there, from the mud coming off the tires.
I got pictures on my computer I could show you, but this is.
But are you and your son willing to sit down with these people and work this out?
Well, we've got the spots there, but nobody,
Are you willing to sit at the table and see if we can resolve it for everybody involved?
yeah.
Ron, have
Okay.
you spoken with Tony about this at all?
No,
That'd
very
be my
early
first
into it,
thought.
I spoke with Robert Sandman, who's representing Mr. Worker.
Right.
Apparently, there already is in place, he tells me, a settlement agreement between the parties. It's already many years old.
It might have been Baldini.
Why it's never been
Yeah.
enforced, I
Think so?
don't know. But I'm looking into it. I did not take possession of a file in connection with this matter.
Right.
It's been several solicitors ago. I understand it was Mr. Baldini that was the person directly involved with the
All right.
negotiations.
Okay. Okay, I get it. All right, well, we'll be back to you. I mean, that's all I can tell you. I'm not going out and fix it tonight, I can promise you
I
that. We'll do what we
understand
got.
Some of the other members of the board haven't seen and haven't heard the comments, and I've made a call, but I didn't get one back from the, but I had to just do this because this is what we live with. Kids can't go out on the road. One of the problems is there aren't that many property owners around there that have the problem. And I know for a fact that this happened, well, apparently you got a little hole in Roseanne Avenue down there that's stirring up somebody. But we have something that's toxic. We don't even, you're not supposed to be in this dust.
Mr. Worker, I'm going to give you my phone number after this is over, and if you're ever tempted to spray dirt on the floor again, please call me first, okay? So, thank you.
Thank you for being willing to come to the table, you and your son. We're going to make the arrangements to get this resolved once and for all.
Thank you, Mr. Worker.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else wishing to address council?
If you have a dust brush off.
No, we'll take care of it. All right, motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous.